inside of me. Love remains a drug that's high and not the pill. But did you know that when it snows, my eyes become a lot, and the light that you shine can't be seen?
Hello. Welcome to Idiobat, a Bruce Wayne podcast. This is the third episode where we take a break from talking about all things Radiohead to talk about all things Batman. This is a huge one. This is the third in the, I guess, 80s to 90s Batman franchise. We are here to talk about Batman Forever. By the way, if you tuned in because you're like, I love Radiohead, that's my favorite band, I want to listen to a Radiohead podcast, and now this is your first episode, you're baffled, just go back through the Bat catalog. We've covered Batman 1989, Batman Returns, and now we're here to talk about Batman Forever. I am one of your hosts, Walker Glenn.
I'm Zach Glenn. It's
very great to be here, and actually in the bunker today, we have a guest with us. Very, very excited to have this person. Now, I know that they are not just a fan of the Batman franchise, but in particular, a fan of this entry in the Batman franchise. Please welcome to the bunker, ladies and gentlemen, our guest, Nicole Love.
Hello.
Hi, Nicole. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I refer to you as Love, like in the British sense? Like, what do you think, Love? Or would you prefer not?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's great.
It's allowed.
So, flexibility right off the bat.
I won't be doing that.
It might happen organically.
Yeah, totally.
Can I ask, are we not allowed to speak about Radiohead?
No, we can.
No, it's.
What are the rules?
That is a good question. I think that Batman has come up on the Radiohead episode, so I don't think there's a reason Radiohead can't come up.
This is
on
also the
Batman
first
episode.
Batman episode in which a Radiohead studio album was released in the same year. The Bends.
Wow.
Yeah, so we didn't have a Radiohead album in 1992. We had an On a Friday demo in 1989. I think they were probably jamming and playing, but no.
Manic Hedgehog EP was, well, that wasn't out till the early 90s.
Yeah, but no, the Bends came out, I want to say May or June of, I turned my phone off, so I don't know if you want to look, but definitely same summer of 1995. So
yeah, okay, and that was more happenstance than a promotional tie-in. But now let me ask you, Nicole, did you ask that because you have Radiohead thoughts right off the bat?
I just wanted to know the rules.
Oh, okay.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, not too many rules, I don't think.
And Zach, the fact that you say that makes it feel like an omission to me that there is not a Radiohead song on the Batman Forever soundtrack. Listeners, you may have recognized the dulcet tones of Cial at the beginning.
Really good bass line. I was really enjoying that, actually.
I was thinking about...
We were all struggling not to start singing.
Yeah, I got to be honest, I was kind of trying to encourage both of you with my eyes to jump in on the chorus.
I was really into it.
That, I tell you, I don't know a single lyric from that song.
Really?
I mean, I got, baby, a kiss from the rose on the brink. Ooh, the more
The gray?
See, already I'm wrong.
Right? I'm just trying to help.
Oh, wait, but I did have a pitch for a song parody of that song that maybe fits what we're talking about a little bit today.
Okay.
You guys ready for this?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, so... But you remain my Two-Face, my Riddler, my Chase, Meridian.
Love it.
Did you know that Radiohead did the music for the James Bond film, the 2015...
Spectre.
Yes. But they ended up going with, who's the redhead gentleman who... He was in an episode of Game of Thrones.
Ed Sheeran.
Or maybe it was Sam somebody.
Sam Smith.
Sam Smith ended up doing the music. But yeah, they wrote it, and It was great. I've listened to it. I don't know if you ever
Yeah.
got a chance to listen to it, but director he was married to Kate Winslet. American
Sam
Beauty.
Mendes.
Sam Mendes said it's too dark, and I don't know where I would slot it in.
Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Radiohead rejected Bond theme.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I think it's like a humanizing thing about Radiohead. There's also a video of them covering in their like I'm guessing pre-Benz on some British TV show they do Nobody Does It Better.
Oh, I don't know that song.
Yeah, you do. The Carole King?
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody does it better.
Sure.
Makes me feel sad for the rest.
Totally. I know that
Yeah.
song.
And they do it in classic early Radiohead fashion where it's like quiet and then by the end there's big distorted guitars and stuff. Ed's nodding along in approval. Good choice, lad. wish there was a shaker in this song.
I'm realizing I should not have brought up Radiohead.
I
I
know.
love Radiohead, but I know 3 albums.
I love that you said, Cam, we talk about Radiohead, and we took it as, you mean at the exclusion of all other things? Yes, absolutely.
Where were we?
I'm latter day Radiohead stuff. So I don't know Ben's.
Come
whoa,
on, you know High and
okay.
Dry.
Oh yeah, great song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love that.
Fantastic Trees, Street Spirit.
No, those ones maybe not as much.
Not as much. No.
But do you know, do you know in the title track that Tom says what I consider to be a very atypical Radiohead lyric? He references having a girlfriend. He says,
and that he's waiting for something to happen, though.
talking
So.
to my girlfriend,
Waiting for something to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Girlfriends.
Yeah, right.
All right. Now you're speaking my language.
Okay, I actually do, though, want to kind of speak to you directly, Nicole,
Sure.
and ask, you expressed interest in talking about this movie.
Yes.
Now, could you tell us why that is, just kind of what your connection to Batman Forever is?
Yes. Batman Forever, huge movie in my childhood. Yeah.
Okay.
Really important stuff. Me and my brother loved this movie when we were kids. And Jim Carrey was obviously a huge deal for us.
Yeah,
And this is peak Jim Carrey, 1995.
sure is.
You know?
Did you know that this was a huge movie for me and my brother, too? It was part of our Christmas of 1995. We received a VHS copy of Dumb and Dumber and Batman Forever. Now, I don't know if they were...
Perfect combo.
Yes, absolutely. You could
Yeah.
see the thematic.
Yes.
But that's amazing that it was a big deal for you and your brother.
Yes.
Did you see it in the theater?
I did not see it in the theater.
Okay.
But had it on VHS. Yeah.
And do you remember if...
And it was probably on TV a lot.
Sure.
Yeah.
And do you remember had you seen the other two, the previous installments by the time you got to this one? Did it inspire you to go back and see those maybe? Or was it just like standalone Batman Forever, this is my everything I need's here?
It's hard for me to recall, but I'm thinking this is probably my first Batman movie.
Okay.
Now, I was very into the Adam West Batman.
Okay.
Okay, that used to come on Coffee TV 20, and I used to watch it all the time, and I loved that. So, like, that was my Batman
Okay.
until this Batman.
Right. And that makes sense too, because I would say that there's the most there's a lot more shared DNA between this Batman and Adam West than 1989 or Returns.
Sure, I think I saw those movies later.
Yeah, and you're like, where are all the Dutch tilts? What's going on here?
Oh my God, we will talk about it.
Where's the pause on the butt? We're missing a lot.
Who knew Val Kilmer had such a juicy ass, man?
Yeah.
Not me.
Why does this Adam West have an ever so slight beer belly compared to the
Right.
rock hard 6-pack abs of Robin and Val Kilmer?
Yeah.
So I guess like Batman was like a campy thing for me.
Okay.
As far as my understanding at that time.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So you must be really into the direction Batman has gone in the last 15 years, where it's now so dark that all these like can I see that movie? And I'm like, maybe when you're 18,
Right.
we can watch
Or
that.
just literally, can I see that movie? It's like, I don't know, son. It's like watching a movie with 18 pairs of sunglasses on. Like literally.
Yeah.
Anyways. But
Well, it made me understand the reaction, like the dark Batman.
Sure.
Like, okay, this is a strong reaction to all this silliness
Yeah.
that came before.
And the silliness is a strong reaction to how, because the Tim Burton, we'll get into it,
we'll
but
get into
the Tim
it,
Burton ones were criticized, and the studio felt suffered because of how dark their tone was. And so this was an intentional shift the other way too with Forever.
Do you know what's funny though is that I don't think that I understood tone very well until, many, many years after I'd first seen this. But I do remember just taking this movie completely serious on its face,
Same.
So anyways, but
I have one more follow-up for Nicole before we kind of get into the background and kind of production of this movie a little bit, and then we're going to get to just talk about this thing backwards, forwards, sideways, every which way but loose. But Nicole, did you watch this movie again to talk about it on the podcast?
Yes.
And could you estimate about how long it had maybe been since you'd seen it when you sat down to watch it again?
Since I was a child.
Okay.
Maybe latest 13
Okay.
at the latest.
Gotcha.
So like we were 10.
and you're what, 21 now? Or so this has
Exactly,
been 8 years ago? Okay. All right.
Yeah. So I was like 9 or 10 when this movie came out.
Yep.
My brother would have been 6 or 7.
Exact same ages Zach and I were
Yeah.
when we went and saw it.
Yeah.
Yes. And I had not watched it since like within 3 years of that coming out. Maybe, I don't know, maybe teens. Or
Sure.
something
That's
like
exciting.
that. But a long time.
So this is the first time coming to it with an adult perspective.
Yes.
Okay.
Shocking.
Okay. Great. Wonderful. Well, I'm really excited to.
It's wonderful to meet you. Yeah. Thanks for.
Oh yeah. By the way, Zach, Nicole,
Bye.
Zach. Okay. Well, I'm really excited to kind of hear about how all of us re-experienced this movie. But Zach, I want to throw to you.
Okay.
And see if this one. There's a lot of changes from the last one we discussed in terms of who's at the helm of this movie, who we're seeing in front of the camera, who's behind the camera. So can you tell us a little bit about the production and release and cast and crew of Batman Forever?
Of course, yeah. No, so we have a different person at the in the director's chair. This is director Joel Schumacher. Maybe as we go through, we could talk about whether any of us have seen any of his other prominent titles, but certainly that comes through just in the overall tone and direction of the film. So Joel Schumacher directed. The screenplay is by a husband and wife team, Lee Batchelor and Janet Scott Batchelor.
I'm surprised that when they got married, she didn't say, "Hey, you're changing your name." I'm not taking the name. I'm not becoming a bachelor. You're becoming a non-bachelor.
Well, yeah. One of the cast members of this film did not change her last name when she was married to a prominent actor.
Oh,
yeah. But we'll get to that in a minute.
That you're dropping.
So they did the initial right. Akiva Goldsman, an Oscar winner, actually did the final rewrites and made a lot of changes from their initial drafts. The story by I just mentioned is Lee Batchelor and Janet Scott Batchelor. Music by Elliot Goldenthal. So Walker and I talked in exhaustive detail just of the scores of Danny Elfman and how moving it was, especially in Returns. I think we really found that score to be incredible. But we got a new person composing the music, produced by Tim Burton and Peter McGregor Scott. Hang on to that second name.
Okay.
And it was released.
Zach winked at me. Very.
It was released on a Friday, June 16th, 1995.
Once again, so they're like, look, we didn't find room for a Radiohead song on the soundtrack, but we are going to do a subtle nod to your original band.
Well, now
name.
both of you do have computers in front of you. I'm curious if you would just not mind even seeing what the release date of the Benz was. Just because I would love to know if the producers of this film how much they were paying homage to what was now the band Radiohead.
I don't know how you could be existing in 1995 and that's like in 2016. It's like whatever you're talking about, it's under the banner of we're now in a post-Trump world. 2020.
Oh, I thought you were referencing a moon-shaped pool.
No, I'm saying that 1995 was the year of the Benz.
Yeah.
So they were thinking about it, even if they didn't directly reference it.
Absolutely. And so we'll come back to that. But the running time of this film is 122 minutes or 2 hours, 2 minutes. So a little bit shorter than our previous two Batman films.
Yeah. Shave 5 minutes off.
Exactly, yeah. The box office of this film was $337 million worldwide against a $100 million budget. And Nicole, do you have the information on when the Benz was released?
Okay, the Benz released March 13th, 1995.
Okay, so slam dunk. So the Benz was out. So they were
Batman Forever released June 16th, 1995.
Yeah, so we got so June 16th.
So everything we've said is true about how
Yeah. Oh, what's really interesting is I'm noticing a QAnon kind of 7-day span here because if I'm not mistaken, Batman 1989 was released June 23rd, and I believe Batman Returns was June 9th.
Okay.
And then this was June 16th, so they move in sevens.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we talk in maths.
So say we all.
So, pardon me. Anything, comments or questions before we go into the cast? No?
Not for me.
All right.
No.
Okay. Well, let's just dive right in then. So, playing the title role, we have Val Kilmer as Bruce Wayne Batman. We have second billing Tommy Lee Jones as Harvey Dent, Two-Face. We have Jim Carrey as Edward Nygma / the Riddler. We have Nicole Kidman, not Love, as Dr. Chase Meridian. Chris O'Donnell as Dick Grayson / Robin. We have Michael Gough back as Alfred Pennyworth, a.k.a. the worst butler.
Yeah, the worst butler. But, I mean, honestly, you don't get anything done with it. I think, and this is not in a way to deride Yoko Ono. This is, I think, is Alfred. I think, is Bruce Wayne's Yoko, where it's like people are like, oh, what's Alfred bringing to the table? And Bruce Wayne is like, guess what? I fucking want him here.
Yeah,
like,
I go nowhere without Alfred.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You like what I'm bringing to the table? My butler comes with. He's like my emotional support system. He levels me out.
Well, it's interesting that you say Bruce is that way. I sort of feel like Warner Brothers Studios feels that way about Michael Gough because he is the only through-line connective tissue besides Tim Burton, who's a producer, but he's not, starring in the film or whatever. He probably just got a nice chunk of change on the back end.
And Commissioner Gordon.
That's the other in all four.
Yeah, I'm getting there. Competition's pretty stiff as far as being the worst at their job because Pat Hingle is back as Commissioner James Gordon. My God, is he phoning it in?
Yeah. What is that? Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Definitely a suicide.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely a suicide. Yeah, he could never be like Bunny Colvin in The Wire with like Amsterdam. Like he's just yep, it's a suicide. Yeah. All right, I've done my job.
It's not like any weird shit happens around
here. It says right here on the paper. Suicide note.
But very concerned with getting the guy off of the bank vault. Get him down. We'll get there.
By the way, your mouth looks familiar.
Have I seen that mole elsewhere? We have George Wallace as the mayor. Drew Barrymore is playing Sugar. That's just one of just.
I'm trying to do like sexy like horn music.
There you go. She is Sugar to Debbie Mazar's Spice. No, I made your favorite, which is Ed Begley Jr. as Fred Stickley. We have Ed Begley Jr. in this film. Mm-hmm. We have Ofer Samad as Harvey's thug. We have Elizabeth Sanders as Gossip Gertie. That is the wife of Bob Kane. And we have, we're getting into names I can't pronounce. Let me just kind of skip down the list here. We have Jon Favreau as assistant number 2. I don't know if you guys caught that.
I did catch that non-speaking role.
So that really covers the cast. I have some notes kind of on the production and general development, unless you guys have anything you want to add on the cast.
No, I think you should get into it because I think that's something that we'll all have questions or comments about. So.
Okay, yeah, excellent. So Batman Returns was released in 1992 to some financial success and generally favorable reviews, but Warner Brothers was disappointed in its box office run because it made $150 million less than the first film. So we talked about that in Returns, and I think that even though we both found a lot of positive things to say about it, it does kind of track with the fact that the movie opens with them killing their son due to his facial differences and birth defects.
Yeah, it's super dark. We covered that a lot. It's like I would not show that movie to my 9-year-old. I think that I got the impression in just reading a little bit about the development of Forever that it isn't even just the box office thing. It's just like this movie's really hard to sell toys of.
Yeah.
And McDonald's canceled their tie-in with Batman Returns. So they're like, okay, this next one, we need to be able to sell this fucker to kids.
Yeah. I mean, so McDonald's and Warner Brothers were just really disappointed in the financial box office results from that film. I think time.
I mean, we know Nicole didn't see it.
No. Well, you weren't allowed to either. We talked about it.
No, I wasn't.
I certainly didn't. See it before 1995.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. So they were disappointed. Burton was invited to come back, though. They just really wanted to kind of take a tonal direction difference. Sam Raimi was considered. He would later go on to direct 2002 Spider-Man and the following two films in that franchise as well. John McTiernan was also considered, but Joel Schumacher was ultimately hired to direct the film. We talked about the screenwriting couple. They were brought on to write the script to kind of keep with this new tonal direction. Scott Batchelor. What's just interesting about this though is that Scott Batchelor's original script introduced a psychotic Riddler, whose real name was Lyle Heckendorf, with a pet rat accompanying him. I thought this was interesting. There was a scene cut from the final film that included Heckendorf, aka the Riddler, obtaining his costume from a fortune-telling leprechaun at the circus. And this is instead of... Yeah, I know.
They should have included that. This movie's so short on zaniness.
Yeah, well, what's so funny about that, too, is that, like, the initial scripts from Sam Hamm for Batman Returns included Penguin and Catwoman seeking a hidden treasure. So there's really like this like desire to want the villains to interact with treasure or leprechauns. Anyways, but moving a little quicker here. The Burton agreed finally that the key element to Batman is his duality, and it's not just that Batman is Bruce Wayne. So a really valuable contribution from Timmy there. Maybe he read a comic or two in the interim beating 3 years.
Sure.
But yeah, like I said, it was just kind of very zany. I can't validate this, but I did read that Michael Keaton initially approved the selection of Schumacher as director and planned on reprising his role as Batman from the previous two films. I'd always heard differently than that he was ultimately really ready to step away as soon as Burton was not going to be directing the film. But I found that in a couple different sources. Joel Schumacher claims that he originally had in mind an adaptation of Frank Miller's Batman Year One, which is a great comic. And Keaton claimed that he was enthusiastic about this idea. Warner Brothers rejected the idea, and they wanted a sequel, not a prequel. Schumacher was able to include very brief scenes of Bruce Wayne's childhood with some events of the comic from The Dark Knight Returns, right? Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about that as we go through the plot. But Akiva Goldsman, he was an Oscar winner. He won an Oscar for A Beautiful Mind in 2001. And he had worked with Schumacher on The Client. He was brought in to rewrite the script, removing the initial idea of bringing in the Scarecrow as a villain. And really honed in on the Riddler, and initially wanted the return of Catwoman, which you could kind of see, I think, with the amalgamation of Dr. Chase Meridian. Sort of feels a little bit like a combo of the vacancy of Vicky Vale. She's brought in from out of town. Commissioner Gordon apparently can hire PhD doctors.
Yeah, sure.
To bring in and analyze the villains, and also she has some of that individuality of that Michelle Pfeiffer brought. I don't know if it's to great effect or not, but just a couple of more things. There were some difficulties and clashes on set. This is pretty legendary trivia for this movie, but director Joel Schumacher and Val Kilmer did clash while they were making Batman Forever. Schumacher described Kilmer as childish and impossible, reporting that he fought with various crewmen and he refused to speak to Schumacher for 2 weeks after the director told him to stop being rude. And this is sort of like in the lore of Val Kilmer, like around this time it was bubbling to the surface that he's notoriously hard to work with. Not too many like nasty allegations that I understand or anything like that. Just takes himself very seriously. And you could kind of see that in what came after this. Not only was he not in any other Batman films, but like The Saint. And this is sort of the beginning of the end, even though he does sort of seem as Iceman hottest a little bit, to me at least. Joel Schumacher also dished. He's a notorious gossip. He R.I.P. just passed away a few years ago.
From gossip.
What's that?
He died from gossiping.
Oh, totally, yeah. And old age. But he also mentioned that Tommy Lee Jones was a source of trouble. I really want to, hear you both speculate on this, but he said Jim Carrey was a gentleman and Tommy Lee Jones was threatened by him. I'm tired of defending overpaid, overprivileged actors. I pray I don't work with him again. Carrey later acknowledged Jones was not friendly to him, telling him once offset during the production, I hate you. I really don't like you. I cannot sanction your buffoonery. Now, what's interesting, and I do want to kick it over to you two on that, but what's interesting about that to me is I've heard Jim Carrey talk about this on Norm Macdonald's show. He was a guest on it. And it's just kind of one of those legendary stories. And, there's that clip of Kristen Wiig and Will Ferrell at either the Golden Globes or the Oscars doing this bit of, they're just being really hilarious, introducing Best Actress nominees that year. And it cuts over to Tommy Lee Jones, and he's the only one in the entire crowd not laughing. So kind of a curmudgeon, Harvard graduate. He was roommates with former Vice President of the United States, Al Gore.
Oh, yeah, I do know.
So very, very, very intelligent, kind of Texan liberal guy. And I wonder how much, Jim Carrey, when he did dish on it, he wasn't disrespectful. He just said that, like, day one, Tommy Lee Jones came up to me and said, I don't think your antics are funny. I don't think you're funny. I don't want... And I think it's probably one of those stories where I'm like, okay, yeah, that does sound a little bit like I'm the senior elder here. I just won an Oscar for my performance in The Fugitive. Like, I don't think, what you're bringing to this is very good. And that does sound arrogant and a little controlling, but I also wonder how much lore is developed around that. What are your guys' thoughts? I don't know. Like, what do you think, Nicole?
Yeah, so I read this about the tension there, and I hear this a lot about Jim Carrey. I have a feeling that people who weren't like 8 in his heyday are pretty immune to Jim Carrey's brand of comedy.
Perhaps, yeah.
And think, he's over the top. I just think it's funny considering the performances that happen in this movie.
Thank you.
Because Tommy Lee Jones is so over the top this whole movie.
Yeah, he's one face. He has one mode of being.
In fact, I didn't even recognize that he was supposed to be doing like 2 different
That is something that comes through, I think, on the rewatch with subtitles, is he says we a lot. So he is referring to the duality that is there in the comics.
But like he's supposed to be having like 2 personas like kind of arguing with each other. Like he's so out of 10 the whole movie. I didn't even recognize it until that scene where Riddler comes into his...
It's so you and you.
Yeah, until 55 minutes in.
Can I tell you when I recognized it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Right now, when you said that he's doing that.
Thank you. And but something happens in that scene where, I don't know, I can't remember what the line was, but I finally recognized that he was supposed to be doing 2 different things.
Well, what about though in the very beginning though, when he has the, we'll go through this when we kind of talk about the plot, but there is one of his first lines when he says, for your dying pleasure, the very same acid that made us who we are today. So he does refer kind of to that.
No, I
agree with you.
I knew that he was a we, but he's
his
actually...
His pronouns are
like,
we, us.
Yes. Absolutely, and I respect that.
Yeah, of course.
No, but like he's supposed to be like, one is supposed to be like the more grounded voice.
Yeah, the DA.
And then the other one is supposed to be like, no, like I can't do it. He's supposed to be arguing with himself in 2 different voices, but he's just screaming the entire time. So I can't even tell that he was supposed to be doing that.
Yeah, I have never
with friends like these, I mean, because they're both crazy.
But to go back to the original question, I understand why a Tommy Lee Jones would be like off put by a Jim Carrey.
Me too. Yeah.
However, it's just funny how it comes out in the performance because he is just like 10, 10, 10.
And one of them is an expert at buffoonery, in my opinion. Yeah. And one of them is not.
Yes.
And also, like, and whatever, we don't have to dwell on it, but like, Jim Carrey it's very easy for me to imagine working with a person like that.
Me too.
Could be draining.
Yes.
But
Totally.
I also think that it is a very crappy way to start a collaborative working relationship by coming
I
up to
hate
somebody.
you and what you do.
Yeah, I don't respect you, especially when they are, most of their scenes are together through the whole movie.
Yeah.
And I do want to talk about that. I have one last little bit I want to cover, but I do want to talk about that when we kind of go through, not necessarily scene by scene, but some of their scenes together. Knowing that this time and then watching it and not being an actor myself, but kind of trying to imagine some of the lore, some of the trivia or whatever I just talked about while watching the movie was interesting, because how much of that is lore that's developed over time or how much of it is visible on screen, we can kind of discuss. But I think Tommy Lee Jones it sounds like he was trying to big dick Jim Carrey, but I really think that he was taking his cues from Jack Nicholson as far as like, how do I play this character? And I think for Jack, it really works playing it big. And I think for Tommy Lee Jones, maybe it doesn't. But just the last little bit on kind of credits and all that kind of stuff is Rick Baker designed the prosthetic makeup, largely for Two-Face. John Dykstra, Andrew Adamson, and Jim Regal served as visual effects supervisor. Are you guys familiar with John Dykstra?
No.
So he won the Academy Award for 1977 Star Wars and was instrumental in the creation of Industrial Light and Magic. There is a 5-part docuseries on Disney Plus that I would highly recommend called Light and Magic that is all about the creation of ILM. And just an amazing talent and genius. And then for costume design, producer Peter McGregor Scott claimed that 146 workers were at one point working together. Batman's costume was redesigned along the lines of a more MTV organic and edgier feel to capture the suit, which I just included that because Batman still cannot turn his head in this film. So it cracks me up that they gave him like 10 additional suits in various colors of like teals and blues, but never thought to, make the character more realistic in that fashion or make the actor more comfortable in the suit.
Yeah.
But he gives his thumbs up and he goes,
I know. It's like it is a human mannequin.
yes.
Also, little detail about the suit.
Yeah.
Like a little complaint. And I'm sure we'll get into this more later.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
like at the end when they're running,
Amazing.
the little points are wobbling.
Yeah.
I did not notice
so ridiculous, and I'm like, that is an oversight.
Yes.
Maybe it's like how Free Willy's fin collapses in
Sure.
captivity. Like maybe because Val Kilmer wasn't having a positive experience on this shoot, his ears start wiggling.
I thought maybe it was in homage to Batman Returns when Penguin goes to the graveyard of his parents and he just casually moves what would be like a 300-pound rock out of his way because on his way to his parents' grave, and it's like, oh, that's because it's made out of styrofoam. So a new Batmobile was designed for Batman Forever with two cars being constructed, one for stunt purposes and one for close-ups. Swiss surrealist painter H.R. Giger provided his version for the Batmobile, but it was considered too sinister for the film.
It had too many dicks and pussies on it.
Yeah, it was like a car coming out of a vagina, somehow also raping a mouth, like at the same time.
I'd like to see that.
Yes,
I want to see that car.
Yeah. Did you happen to see any
I saw
images
some
of his
initial
designs?
drawings for it, and I do think
I'll
that
look
this
that up.
actually took some cues from it, like especially how it kind of looks like a webbing over it a little bit. This is not
Okay, sure.
my favorite Batmobile, call it nostalgia or not, is the Tim Burton Batmobile.
Okay, yeah,
I still
this
love it
thing
to
is
this day.
ugly.
Whoa.
This is very H.R. Giger.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
I mean, it would look cool in an Aliens movie.
yeah, totally. You just need a space jockey driving that thing.
Yeah.
Final
Looks
last point
like
here.
a sexual torture device.
Yes.
As true to H.R. Giger.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
it
bought.
kind of looks like a toothed vagina a little bit, like on either
I'm
end.
not mad at that.
I bought an H.R. Giger book. It's like 400 pages long of all of his art combined, and then a lot of commentary on sort of him as an artist. I haven't finished it yet, but I bought it as a Christmas present for a really good friend of mine, her husband, and it was on sale like 50% off. started thumbing through it, and I was like, yeah, I'm keeping this. So I've been looking
Sorry,
at it.
buddy.
Yeah, I was like, how much are you really going to enjoy this? Not as much as me.
Yeah, enjoy this Amazon gift card.
So Enigma's brainwave device bears a striking resemblance to the project of Christopher Columbus Memorial, designed by Russian avant-garde architect Konstantin Melenkov in 1929. And that was really the last bit of trivia I had, and just sort of general facts about the film. I know it's a weird place to end on, but I found that to be very interesting. And
I learned a lot. I had come across a couple of the things you said, but not many more of them.
Set dynamics for sure.
Yeah, and I know it's been great getting to know our guests, but just kind of keeping with our Batman themes, I did want to kick it over to you, Walker, to just take us through the plot of this film, if you would.
Sure. This has been an interesting exercise that you've had me do each time, and it's fun to find out on the fly how much, if any, of these movies I retain as I watch them. This one, weirdly...
may I ask, can we get some score going in the background, just while you... the Batman March, maybe?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Let me get my favorite Batman song going here. Okay. So this is... Hey, when I think Batman... This is what I think. This is what plays in my head when I see the Caped Crusader.
My pleasure, my pain.
Duality. Make eye contact with both of you. All right. And now
it's what's for dinner.
Duality. So this movie, and by the way, I encourage both of you to jump in and help me out. For being the craziest Batman movie we watched so far, in my opinion, I think that I think this might have the most streamlined plot of the three that we've watched now. Yeah, I mean, we won't recover it, but the first one there's in both of the last two movies there's like vestigial elements of multiple scripts that were cobbled together, and so there's just like a lot going on in those.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so this is about. Often, Zach and I think other people have observed that, Batman's outlet of his rage and mourning of his parents' death is not an altogether healthy expression of the grieving process, that he's chosen to be obsessed with it and deal with it by beating people up is probably not the best thing, and that there's really probably a healthier future for Bruce Wayne where he tries going to therapy once. A big part of this movie seems to be that happens kind of accidentally, that he encounters a therapist and it very quickly breaks apart his entire identity and psyche. This movie starts out with Batman showing up at a robbery being committed by Two-Face, where he meets Dr. Chase Meridian, played by Nicole Kidman in a crazy wig, who makes some she really wants to fuck Batman. Yeah. She makes some kind of quick
diagnoses on the spot.
Yeah. He nags her. Well, I don't want to get into plot by plot, but anyway. So this movie is kind of about Batman through meeting this psychologist whose specialty is duality. Him kind of
abnormal psychology, multiple personalities.
I've read your work. It's insightful. Naive, but insightful. You see how I've retained the upper hand. Thank you. Yeah, so Batman, the Batman arc of this movie is about him kind of reckoning with how his personality has been split by this trauma that happened to him. Mirroring that, at least in attempt, we have Two-Face, who listeners are probably familiar, was physically deformed in a encounter with Batman, hates him for it.
Actually, they even say this in that scene, that it was the mobster on trial, and Batman was fucking in the courtroom and attempted to stop it. But he's mad Batman didn't intervene.
Yes, I mean, if you heard that news reporter, she said, Harvey Dent, who blames Batman? Yeah. The kind of thing people definitely say in a news report. If I could just speculate on the emotional state.
File perfectly.
Yeah.
Almost
I know.
on
He
the
holds up a
side
piece of paper, and that's why he has a straight
Perfect.
line
Yes.
down his face.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, look, acid can burn through human flesh, but not through paper.
What if he's putting on like cover up in the morning, but just makes it a perfect like straight line? I like symmetry. Please continue.
we gotta get
so
through
I'll
this.
try to. No, please. All chime-ins are welcome. I will try to make this a little more condensed, though. So that's Batman's arc. Similarly to the last two movies, he's also engaged in a romance where that's complicated by the fact that by the potential partner's relationship to Batman. In the last one, it was that he's in a romance with somebody who's enemies with Batman. In this one, he's trying to date somebody who is not interested in Bruce Wayne, but is interested in Batman. Two-Face, as far as I understand, does not really have a scheme in this movie except to like have fun and kill Batman. The main plot thrust of this movie involves Jim Carrey's character of Edward Enigma, who works at Wayne Enterprises in the electronic development department. And he has research that he's done that is a device that puts people kind of in like a kind of VR sense or like a 3D sense. It reacts to people's brainwaves and makes them feel as if they are in the show they're watching. He doesn't receive the go-ahead from Bruce. He's obsessed with Bruce Wayne. He's a stalker. He's like introduced to somebody who seems very mentally unwell. When he doesn't get the immediate go-ahead from Bruce, it causes a psychotic break. He steals his research, quits Wayne Enterprises, becomes the Riddler, and then
Kills his boss on the way out.
kills his boss. I want to get into the more beat by beat, but becomes the Riddler and teams up with Two-Face. The main caper of this movie becomes that the Riddler is using a version of his device that he manages to sell to the public to steal their brainwaves in a very 1960s Batman-style plot. Other important thing about this movie is we are introduced to Robin, a boy of 32 years old whose parents die and moves in with Batman, and the conflict there is he wants to kill Two-Face, who killed his family, and he wants to work with Bruce, and Batman is resistant to kind of let him in on the life of vigilante crime fighting and to base his identity on revenge. And that is what I think this movie is about, or thinks it is.
Yeah. Well, but take us through the conclusion, though. I mean, just once, or is that okay? Or do you want to cover that when we cover the plot, or can we cover?
Sure.
What
I mean, you know, the things that it sets up are. I mean, I guess the conclusion that I would be most interested in talking about, but I don't know if now is the time. It may be is just this movie. You brought it up. It's very concerned. It says with the idea of Batman's duality, but I think it does a very, very poor job of communicating that. And I did not realize that Batman was in any sort of turmoil about being Batman until the scene where he quits being Batman.
I had sex now. I'm a big boy.
Yeah. There's a scene that it cuts to Batman going, from this day forward, Batman is no more. And I was like, what? Like, I did not realize that this was on the table. So,
And then it concludes by him summating
yes,
the entire, like, a lot of things aren't revealed until the one line.
Yeah, and let's talk about, do you remember what he says about?
He's like, I am Batman.
Not because I have to be,
not
because I
choose to be. Yes.
Right. And I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know that was what this movie was about.
Yeah, you're clearly Batman. You're in your suit kicking ass.
He's been Batman for all but 5 minutes of this movie when, like, he told us for the first time that he didn't want to be Batman anymore. But, yeah, I mean, with that, I would like to open it up a little more, unless either of you have, like, plot points that in kind of the overview of the movie you want to...
No, I think you covered it excellently.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to maybe turn to our guest.
Great.
And we can... listeners, the way these kind of go... we try to apply some level of organization to it, but we kind of end up all over the place. If you're the kind of person who really, really wants to be able to picture in your mind exactly what you're talking about, you can watch this movie. If you have HBO Max, all the Batman stuff is on there. But we're going to kind of go all over the place. But I want to start our conversation about the movie in general by asking you, Nicole, you sit down to watch this movie. Yeah. You loved it as a kid. Mm-hmm. Like, what are the first things on your rewatch that jump out to you? What are the first things that like impacted you positively or negatively, that were different, that were just how you remember? Like, what 5 minutes into this movie, what are you feeling?
Okay, I'll say overall, I don't feel the same way I felt about this movie when I was 10.
Okay.
It does not hold up in that way. I don't know, like what is it? Like, I would say what stood out to me was a hatred of women.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the movie. I don't know, maybe we can start by unpacking. It isn't the first scene, but I think the first relevant scene is when Batman and Chase meet.
Yeah, it's the first scene with any dialogue, really, besides Alfred, where he tells him for the trailer, I'll get drive-through, or for a commercial, I'll get drive-through. But it's the first social interaction.
Let's talk about it. And you start us off. I mean, so this scene, it's a little rough, right?
It's rough.
Yeah. We already acted out some of the dialogue where there's some nagging going on. There's some
he's read her work,
which is a compliment, but it's naive.
It's naive, yeah.
So don't get too full of yourself.
But she attacks back about a man who's dressed as a rodent.
Yeah,
bats aren't rodent, doctor.
Exactly. Yeah. But then, yes.
Which I gotta say, I would include that as well. I would correct the person. That's very, very obvious mistake that it bears correcting.
Well, she's a psychologist. She's not a biologist.
But okay, like how this is written, bats aren't rodents, Dr. Meridian. And she goes, "You are interested." I'm like, oh God.
I know. It's also like, that's so funny too, because she's giving him a lot of credit for having basic knowledge of bats, which is like, well, if I have a Radiohead podcast, I expect that people will think I should be able to answer basic Radiohead questions.
Tom York's not Dutch.
Yeah, exactly. But like, right. Ed doesn't play in the band, Doctor. But like, it's like, why is she so impressed that he has like one bat fact?
She should be impressed that he's read her work, because Batman, world's greatest detective, but he comes down
and he can't turn his head.
He can't turn his head. I know. He comes down and like he is being, I would say, I found it to be disrespectful to her by like calling her naive, this PhD doctor. But they have this kind of like nice back and forth going, even dated as it is. But she is just so turned on by everything he does.
Yes.
And the wind on the set blowing her hair just so to like remind you that she's showing you by audibly gasping at his every move. Mm-hmm. Commissioner Gordon is like
oblivious.
Yeah, he's like a grandparent is like, "Oh, that's nice, honey," when you like said, but anyways.
I think it's worth, and Nicole, I'd love to get your perspective on this. I think that and this is not me trying to do some both side shit here, because I do think the movie has a very sexist slant in its portrayals of women in relationships. But not only is Batman being a dick, she's behaving in a completely inappropriate way too. Like, it's just like, yo, like there's a crime happening.
Yeah.
It's not time to sexually harass Batman. It's time. It's time to like help, quickly explain the whole duality thing about Two-Face. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that's just, I just thought everybody was a little out of line in how they were acting in this scene.
Yes.
Did you notice that he touches down to check in with Commissioner Gordon, who, like we said, is totally oblivious to everything. He's up there.
Yeah.
And they shake hands. Commissioner Gordon introduces her and they shake hands, and it happens like below screen. And I was just thinking, like, what is it like to shake Batman's gauntleted gloved hand? Because she really likes it, but it's just like, I don't know. The Batman has ever shook somebody's hand before
Right.
or after.
And I feel like this version of Batman, who's doing some like weird pickup artist shit on her, where
Yeah.
he's like clearly like read in a book like how to drive women crazy or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
He like would do like a Donald Trump handshake where he like forcibly pulls you in.
Or you do that thing where you like touch the person's palm with your middle finger.
Gucci, doctor.
Okay, so this film hates women. You're saying.
Well, yeah. I mean, doesn't think much of women
Sure.
because like all the women are like,
Mhm.
I mean, or Chase Meridian,
Mhm.
which we will unpack,
Mhm.
are like the Sugar and Spice Girls.
Mm.
I
Which
thought those were pretty like developed three-dimensional characters.
Did you?
Yeah, Drew Barrymore has a
One's
line.
naughty, one's nice,
Uh-huh.
and both are
you
naughty.
can call me anything you want.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like that.
I mean, it's very like male fantasy
Mm.
or
Is it? I don't know about that.
She might as well just.
Oh, like you're so interesting. Thank you for correcting me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That makes you so interesting.
Yeah,
Hot entrance.
yeah.
Yeah, right. And I like what you said that you could call me anything you want. Like she
Yes.
might as well just becoming like, I'm an object.
Yes.
Like,
We've made you dinner.
Yeah.
no, I made your favorite.
Well, let's.
Yeah, we're.
What about this? Can we talk about the characters maybe a little bit?
Well, yes, but I actually do have. I since we're talking about the introduction, because it is the first scene, like you said, we see we see Batman leave the cave, but the first set piece of this movie is the crime he goes to, and he meets Chase Meridian. I thought there was another really funny thing in their exchange too, which I didn't write down the exact dialogue, but she's ostensibly there because of her. What did you say? Her job. You quoted her job title before.
Abnormal psychology.
Yeah.
Multiple personalities.
Right. So she's there.
Just trying to say it like Batman.
Yeah.
Is
Very,
it
and very
reading?
good.
Is it coming through?
Yes. Because we'll talk about it, but this is also the first Batman that
Has a lisp.
has a lisp and also does not disguise his voice when he is in
Yes.
the Batman
Yeah.
costume. But so
And
Chase.
it's very monotone.
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
just talk like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
Uh-huh.
show no emotion.
I show
This is
nothing.
me when I'm flashbacking to my
Not
parents'
because I want
death.
to,
Yeah.
but because I choose to.
Yeah. Now I am Batman because I choose to be because I am Batman.
Thank you.
From this day, Batman is no more. Fitter, happier. See, it all comes back to Radiohead.
Yes.
I was going to say, though, in this, so Chase Meridian, Nicole Kidman's character, she's ostensibly there to serve as like a consultant on the Two-Face problem.
On the wacko.
The wacko,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
That's the other.
How, yeah. Sorry.
No,
now
please,
I'm getting
no.
like, how is the psychology coming across in this movie?
like it's from the 1930s.
Well, I
maybe?
just have a bigger picture question. Gotham is more well populated in this film compared to the previous two.
It's been a big.
Why
sticking
do they
point
have
of
to do an
Zach's.
outside hire? Why they don't have in a city of like millions of people conceivably? They don't have one PhD doctor that doesn't live out of town.
Well,
Like
this is what
that,
you're
the
talking
logistics of it just crack me up.
Yes, and you guys already pointed out the commissioner. Yep, definitely a suicide. And it's like the city of Gotham seems to fail time and time again to take into account like that this is a crazy place. And the crazy thing, like we have a Batman for a reason. Maybe we should set up some other infrastructure around this because wild shit keeps happening here.
Yeah. Well, when Batman touches down to kind of connect with the two of them, we see the police just pointing up at the crime as well. So the police are utterly failing at their job as well. Just kind of like also entertained by this spectacle. But I just want to say, because it starts with kind of a adventure of the week, I think that this is the strongest opening of any of the three Batman films yet. Like it is a little commercial. The bat butt and the focus on the suit and on the car.
The Bat Cod piece.
Exactly. Yeah, those are funny, but it reminded me a lot of like Raiders of the Lost Ark or James Bond, where it's like a self-contained opening that does speak to the larger plot overall. We meet Two-Face, we have a fight scene, we have Batman rescuing somebody, but the movie is kind of it's not Penguin being dumped down the river. It's not so villain centric. We get this nice duality, if you will, of Batman and kind of me. And so, yeah, I mean, we could talk more about that scene, but I do just want to kind of compliment the movie on being Batman focused, action focused, pretty good action, I would say, for 1995. And then, yeah, but that was kind of my thoughts on the initial scene.
Can I just say that was a really insightful point?
Oh, well,
naive, but insightful. No, that's
Come on.
Naive, but it was naive, but insightful.
Before, like, I keep on shitting on this movie or whatever, like, I was really excited to sit down and watch it. I'm glad I watched it. And it was so big in my childhood that I just saw these like adult things that I never noticed.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. I mean, at the age we were when this movie came out, I don't know if we had even been given an expectation that female characters could be like capable and nuanced and multidimensional. So it makes sense that we
Jerry
notice
Maguire
it more
had
now.
not come out yet. So
there is a specific though in the Chase Batman scene that I just wanted. So Zach, I think that's a good point. This does serve well as like a tightly written opening set piece that gives you some of the information that you're going to need in a fun and exciting way. The Chase Meridian of it all, though, so she's there to like serve as a consultant for about the Two-Face thing, but it also is so funny because it's clearly just like to get some quick exposition about who Two-Face is out of the way to audiences who don't know, because I didn't write down the dialogue, but she's like basically tells Batman he's obsessed with the duality of this coin and is kind of like, maybe you can like use that for something. And Batman's kind of like, yeah, I fucking know about Two-Face's coin.
I've been
like,
not defeating him for years.
Yeah, it's just kind of like it's just really funny because she's just like, I've noticed he's super into this like coin. I don't know if you could do anything with that.
Yeah.
That's it.
What
I
did
just think,
we think
that's
about
her expertise?
What did we think about the introduction of? I mean, the credits are still going at this point in the movie, like opening credits. Of Batman arriving via elevator and defeating Two-Face's goons in that scene. What did you guys think of it?
Did we enjoy
Action-wise?
it? You go ahead, Nicole.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I had a question. Because there's a Statue of Liberty.
I wrote that down too.
But before that, though.
Oh, before that.
Like, did you
Okay.
think the fight choreography or was any of that, like, because it is sort of like 50-50. I guess I'll just say, I thought the fight was fun. You do have a lot of Dutch angles and sort of Batman 66 homages, but I thought it was pretty fun.
And I thought the safe filling with acid was effective and like,
Oh no, it's boiling acid.
My shoes are melting.
Don't let go. Hey, that's my hearing aid.
Yeah, just how many ways can we make this guy feeble?
Yeah.
Oh, my prosthetic arm!
Oh, my tiny penis.
Oh, my acid reflux medication! That character, man. It's just like, hey, how are we going to make Batman seem cool? It's like, I don't know, maybe he could rescue the lamest person who's ever lived.
I know. Don't let go. But yeah, no, I thought it was, I was really excited to tell both of you about this just in hearkening back, like watching these movies has been really fun to like put myself, because they're just so tied to like my childhood and this movie, My Sexual Awakening.
What?
I just thought,
Wait,
I remember,
back up. Let's hear more about this sexual
I just vividly
awakening.
remember thinking Nicole Kidman was very pretty, and that being like the first time I had ever had that thought. And there's nothing crazy. I mean, it wasn't anything like I didn't do anything about that. But I just remember being like, oh, she's a very pretty lady. And, that being the first time I'd ever had that thought about a woman in a movie.
I mean, you were 6, I was 9. I had the same thing about Drew Barrymore in this
I did
movie.
too.
Oh, okay.
I remember, so you, me, and Dad saw it in the theater, which is not typical. This is not like, does not line up very closely with like the other stuff we were allowed to see. Like, I think that at this point, there just haven't been enough superhero movies that our parents know that there's going to be like a fair amount of adult adjacent content.
Right. How could anyone expect what was in this movie?
Yeah, we weren't allowed to watch a lot of PG-13 movies, and we definitely weren't allowed to watch stuff with like such sexualized characters.
Sure.
But I just remember that Dad really enjoyed it. All three of us, I think, really enjoyed the movie, and it was a fun, positive experience. But whenever Drew Barrymore was on screen, I just remember like my little 9-year-old body feeling like it was on fire and slowly like sinking into
really
the theater
funny.
chair.
That's really funny.
Yeah. So I guess I had my sexual awakening during this movie too. Nicole, what awoken in you?
Oh no, I had been awake. But I did really like Drew Barrymore in this movie.
She'd seen Pocahontas and saw John Smith. I'm just kidding.
I'd seen Aladdin already. Okay.
Yes.
And in that, I mean, it's like, pick your poison. What do you into? You know, Aladdin,
John Smith,
Jasmine, or do you like it blue? You know.
But I was just gonna say, what's so funny is I was able to kind of put my, harken back to some memories that are like very well buried, and I remember when I was a kid, and you think about the year this came out in 1995, I always thought that Two-Face's goons were Dennis Rodman. Because, as a kid, because they're...
they are all covered in facial piercings.
They're all covered in facial piercings. They all seem to enjoy like a little flair for like dyed hair and tattoos and being deeply muscled and people of color.
Right.
And I just remember my little brain being like, oh, like Dennis Rodman plays all of Two-Face's goons. This is a literal memory. I know
so
it's...
funny.
Yes. I thought that was funny.
Like, wow, there's nothing he can't do.
Yes, exactly. And this was around the time when he was like going to his own wedding in a wedding dress and just being real flair for the dramatic.
Bad as you want to be. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I really like the self-contained opening. I don't like it better than any of the previous two films. I think as a Batman film, it makes more sense as a way to open the movie. And it does have, you were talking about the Statue of Liberty. So like in that scene after they exit, Batman, rescues the the police officer. He's climbing up the helicopter, some good special effects there. It has my favorite part where I feel like it embodies the character of Batman within the comic. Two-Face's goon who's driving the helicopter because the helicopter has a steering wheel.
Face!
Yeah, he says,
"Hey, face!"
That's straight out the comic, that kind of talk, I feel. And then my favorite part of the entire movie is, "You need help, Harvey." The one time he does a voice, that is so out. It's like in the end of Batman Returns when he says, "Shut up, you're going to jail."
Yeah.
When I'm like, oh, there for a quick second, there's a capture of the Batman character, and I was so titillated by that. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned the helicopter as a steering wheel. They don't IRL. Because Two-Face puts like a instrument that you put on
parking boot.
Yes,
or
thank you.
Steering wheel
Parking
boot.
Yeah. And that kind of
club. That's what they're called.
Yeah, that kind of concludes the scene, and it just like it shows like a more opened up Gotham, whether it's early computer graphics or not, which I really enjoyed.
Sure.
Is like a question about the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah,
that has Gotham
French,
across the the head.
Yeah. Right.
Like we do here, United States. New York. Is in the comics is Gotham so like one for one New
like
York?
New York? Kind of.
It's always felt like a fictional New York, but I think New York exists in the DC universe.
That's like the thing, lore of Gotham,
sure,
or whatever. But I mean, like, is there like a Statue of Liberty Gotham?
Not to my knowledge.
This is the first time I've ever seen
the movie. Okay,
never seen that in the comics.
Curious. And they had an Orpheum Theater, and like there was like some other things that seemed like it was trying.
It raises a lot of tough questions about because it's just like, does New York exist in this?
No.
Universe.
Metropolis does, though, because they name check it.
They do. I caught that
later on.
Oh, I missed that.
Halfway to Metropolis by now.
Oh, okay.
That's where Superman lives.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like this scene concludes.
Which is Chicago.
Sure. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. No, Long Island.
Excuse me.
This scene concludes, and then it does kind of go into Batman. I don't want to, if you guys have anything you want more to say on it, but I thought it was nice because it's that self-contained opening. Like I said, there might be like a couple incidental scenes, but then it really does go to Bruce Wayne on the floor of Wayne Enterprises being toured around by Ed Begley Jr., in which we meet Jim Carrey's Edward Nygma. I think it's the immediate following scene.
I have to serve as a little bit of a counter argument to. I very much appreciate what you're getting out of this. To me, this opening scene was a warning. An imminent warning that I am about to not have fun watching this
Okay.
movie.
For sure.
You've mentioned the Dutch angles several times. I don't know if you can still call it a Dutch angle if the entire movie is shot
Right.
at that angle.
Yeah.
The Joel Schumacher, anytime he saw a straight camera on his set,
Yeah.
he says, "You tilt that motherfucker."
Yeah, he doesn't like straight things, it seems like, but based
Yes.
on the tone of this
Absolutely.
film. Yeah.
And it's so
Agreed.
noisy. It's so bright.
Yeah.
Right away, I hated what Tommy Lee Jones was doing, and I was just like, "This is going to be exhausting." I
Right away, you hate it.
don't right away hate it. I right away feel as if I'm about to be drained by
Yeah.
this movie.
Yeah.
It's like
does
the Batman
Demand
Forever.
a lot of energy out of you right off the bat.
It sure
Yeah.
does. I think that the titular Forever,
Yes.
is a warning about how long this movie is going to
Yeah.
feel.
More like Batman Eternal.
Yeah, more like Batman. Can we wrap this up, please? Sure. So that's it. I didn't. It wasn't that I hated the opening scene.
Yeah.
It was just that I was like, this is really loud. This has none
It's
of
very loud.
the vibe of the first two.
No.
Which I thought. Batman Returns is like the most Tim Burton-y movie I've ever seen. To some effect, better than others in different scenes, but in general, I really appreciate what a dark gothic tone it has.
Yeah.
And this, I'm just like, okay, it's nauseatingly colorful and loud, and just Two-Face sounds like Woody Woodpecker through the entire movie. And so I was a little concerned. But if we don't mind moving chronologically, some of my concerns were assuaged in the next scene
Okay.
at Wayne Enterprises, where
Let's
we
hear
meet
about it.
the star of the show for Nicole, I know,
Yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Edward Nygma.
That's right.
Take us through. Let's talk
Yeah,
about
what-
Nygma. Let's talk about Jim Carrey's.
Let's talk about Riddler.
Yeah, let's talk about Jim Carrey's Edward Nygma and the Riddler.
Okay, so this scene and what is revealed
Mhm.
is that Edward Nygma has an obsession with Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
Yes. And his first line is, "Oh my God, it's him!
Yeah.
You're a winner. You're a winner." Can we just start acting it out?
Yeah, can we do quotes?
Let's act out every Jim Carrey scene.
Yeah.
But
The first thing he said that made me laugh super hard is like in the first like minute of lines he has. And I will say, right away, I want to say Jim Carrey brings so much to the table here. I find him so funny. And I especially say that because I do not find any of the jokes funny in the movie that they're trying to do, but I find his performance of what would be normal lines in another person's voice very funny.
Yes.
I love when he comes up to Bruce and he says, you hired me personally. That's what I tell everybody. And then he goes, "We've never actually met, but your name is on the hiring slip.
Yeah.
I have it."
Yeah. It's so
that
funny.
made me laugh out loud so hard.
Yes.
He contorts his whole body
Yes.
into like a weird shape to say, "I have it."
Yeah. Yeah, he is working his ass off. But Nicole, please.
such a
I feel like
clown.
you have more more points. He's obsessed with
he's
Bruce.
obsessed. He has his picture all up in his workspace. Love that.
I love that too.
And he reveals his
Device.
his invention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like Bruce Wayne, even though the tone of the scene felt very much like the master touring the slave labor of
Yeah,
the
sure,
farm
sure,
and
sure.
pretending to be a nice guy because Ed Begley Jr. does all the hard stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I do like that he gives him and you know what? Maybe not like I mean like children like in like early turn of the century like Industrial Revolution like a bunch of 8-year-olds do all my work. But I'm okay because I'm distanced from that. You know,
Yes.
when I tour, I pretend to be nice, even though I know what the fuck's going on here.
Mm-hmm.
Because Bagley's clearly cracking the whip. He's very inappropriate to Edward, even though Edward is a bit much.
Yes.
But I like that Batman gives him a meeting, and kind of gives him his thoughts. And because as Walker talked about during the plot, he has this device that is very interesting. And I mean, it is very of the 66 kind of vibe, but it doesn't feel so far away from our reality.
I was thinking the same thing.
And yeah, and he just says there's too many questions, messing with people's brainwaves, which is also a good objection.
Mm-hmm.
But this, like Bruce Wayne, there's another incidental scene where he has to go down to the Batcave. But it really is sort of like Riddler's plot and journey within a whole like 15 to 20 minute span. Would you agree?
It's super expedited.
Yeah.
But I just mean Jim Carrey, from the moment we meet him, he gets a lot of screen time, even though there's like one or two incidental scenes in between that. From him meeting Bruce, you know, Bruce gets called down to the Batcave because he notices the bat symbol, which is what causes him to cut the meeting short. But so we see him go attend to that, but really it stays focused on Jim Carrey because he then says he gets shut down. And I really like, I love the way he interacts with Bruce when he's like, I need an answer now. That's not going to work for me. This is where Jim Carrey really impresses me is his like comedic kind of clown 60s sort of vibe. But also in the same way when I watch Dumb and Dumber and there's that one scene when he says, I'm tired of being alone. I'm tired of being a nobody. And you're like, you could see Truman Show there. You're like, oh, this is he's a gifted actor. The way he says that's not going to work for me, I really need to know. It turns really intensely where I'm like, this reminds me of when I've heard stories of like the one or two people that escaped like a Ted Bundy or something when they said somehow in a moment this person's face contorted or their vibe, the energy changed and they said like, you're not fucking going anywhere or whatever. Like he becomes creepy immediately. Yeah. And I just thought that was really impressive. I don't know.
I agree. I also, something that stood out to me about the scene between him and Bruce that you touched on that I liked, that adds a kind of needed layer of complexity to this movie for me, is that when he starts pitching Bruce, his like fucking, you know, the factory floor overseer guy, Ed Begley Jr. is like...
Fred,
thank you, is giving him the mean eye the whole time, going like, hey, stop talking to the boss. Then Bruce...
Oh, it's okay.
Is genuinely interested in the thing that's being pitched. What I like about this is that Bruce is probably willing, maybe he's full of shit, maybe he's not, but it seems like Bruce is willing to is open to the idea of throwing some resources towards the research of this project because Edward doesn't get a emphatic yes right away. He goes full supervillain. Yeah. And I liked that because it kind of reminded me of like the King of Comedy a little bit, where it's like he actually...
So glad you brought that up.
Yeah, like if he's actually like willing to be patient and do some of the work and hear some qualified no's and qualified yeses, he might have gotten somewhere, but instead he's just like, fuck this, I'm just going to blow... I shouldn't have to wait, I'm going to blow everything up. And I like that because I think it's what makes Jim Carrey a bad guy in this movie more than that he just is crazy, which is kind of how you explain everything else he does. But he's also very entitled. Yes. I like that.
Nice.
I also like this. This is the scene I have, I think, the most to say about. So I just love after the meeting doesn't go well and he's still pulling a late night, you know, on the floor. Bagley comes back, Bagley comes back, though, to just heap more abuse upon him. And yes, and it is still in that tone, but just to like kind of compliment Jim Carrey doing both, he ties Bagley up to like forcibly, you know, have him take part in his virtual device. And that scene, I think, is really fun, just with like the fish 3D coming through the TV. But there's a hilarious moment that feels improvised, you know, but where he goes, I'm sucking up your IQ, and he's doing this little dance. And I really like the way the music is weaved in, but at odds with like what's happening. And even within that scene, I feel like this is where Schumacher was like on all cylinders. It goes from hilarious when I'm laughing at his dancing with that big instrument on his head. And as it's winding up, he goes, Fred! And it's scary again. I'm like, ooh, this is creepy. Yeah. And then it ends and we get some more comedic bits and he does end up killing him. I'll let you guys like kind of take it from there. But I just was like, man, the variance in tone is really impressive. Like in this whole scene. And it's just really, really, really cool. I don't know.
Well, I'd like to direct a follow-up to you, Nicole. I'm curious how, if the opening and its kind of portrayal of male-female dynamics and women were not holding up, how are you feeling about Jim Carrey, which is the thing that I get the impression resonated the most with you as a child? How is that resonating with you as an adult? once he comes on the screen, what do you feel?
I'm very excited once he comes on the screen.
Yeah. Okay.
I think the hard jokes, which actually comes a little later. There's some things.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like Jim Carrey is what I remember most.
Yeah.
And I still say some of the stuff he says in this movie just in life.
Sure.
Whatever.
What's your most quoted?
Yeah, we've talked about suicide. I'm betting it's around there somewhere, right?
For some, what is my? I'm sorry.
What is your most utilized Riddler quote?
Yeah.
Well, like
in
I
life?
don't know, but the thing I remember most is Batman. Batman, you say?
Oh yeah.
Coming for you. I'm counting on it. Just like
The craziest line read I've ever seen.
yes,
in any
it was,
movie.
and I forgot about the.
Yeah. And how long he
What
stretches.
is he referencing? It feels like he's referencing something.
Yeah.
but
I don't know. Do you know, Zach?
No.
But I like wrote down all the quotes that I like super remembered from
Yeah.
it, so I'll just like go through them for as they come up.
Sure.
Yeah.
But, like I just remembered him. The one is coming.
Well, what about within the
quickly.
scene? Do you have any favorites? Or it's okay if not. I'm just
No,
curious.
but I really like the obsession with Bruce Wayne, which I don't think hit as hard for me. I do like remember when we'll talk about it later, but when he starts looking like him, and then like I like the homoeroticism of it. And yes, they're much better. This movie is much better with homoeroticism than it is about women.
Yeah.
No surprise.
Yeah.
But I really like was into that.
I didn't know that Joel Schumacher was gay until reading.
You watched this movie and were like, a gay man must have done
and was like,
this.
now I'm gay.
A gay man in his.
Well, also
like-
Jim Carrey looks like a lesbian gym teacher when he's Nigma too. I feel like nobody can be straight even when they're not a villain.
I mean, Jim
This
Carrey's
is not a commentary on gay men, but gay men of a certain era or whatever
are into camp and like as an aesthetic
Oh no!
type of a thing.
Never mind. We can erase that.
Oh, did I get something wrong?
No, I just am thinking of like, just like in the same way that like straight white men of this era have like antiquated notions of women and different things. I think we can see some antiquated notions
Of a
that
gay man,
of white gay men
Like a
of
caricature.
this era have about women and things like that. And that's what I meant.
Yes, that makes sense. And like, I think there is something about Jim Carrey's performance that's very like kind of like drag adjacent and like very like
we will talk about the fabulous costumery.
Yes, and
Oh,
he's
my
very
goodness.
fabulous. He's
My
like
favorite costume is at the end.
Okay. I think I know what it is.
like once he becomes Riddler, like I would say his movements are like more like effeminate and like flamboyant, and the costumery is very
I
flamboyant.
would say like flamboyant,
Sure.
and showman-y.
Sure.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
And I think homoeroticism is like, especially in a Batman and Robin movie, like it's like, I don't think you should make this Batman movie without like kind of like acknowledging what's kind of gay about Batman. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
It's just good to have that in there.
I was thinking too, actually, I was saying that like I really like how the scene turns tonally. I mean, I'm just saying for me, I was like a little creeped out and really astounded at Jim Carrey's performance to be scary. And I also think he's a little bit, and it's not that I find him scary in this film, but I find like, oh, he could have done horror. And I know he tried with like the number 23, in 2007 or whatever, but
With Joel Schumacher.
Yes. But I also find him to be scary after Ed Begley Jr. fires him, and he says, you are fired. Do you hear me? Fired. And he says, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And he pushes him out the window. I think he's genuinely scary. Like if this movie was an audition, I'd be like, oh, this guy can do horror.
Yeah.
Or can be some sort of like villain in a maybe more grounded film. And I do like his killing of Begley.
Yeah.
And I love the altered tape that it shows. I think that is very creepy.
Sure.
I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
Well,
but-
I mean, we were talking, are there quotes from the scene that we're covering?
Yeah.
I have one I wrote
Sure.
down, which again, to me, this is an example of not a particularly funny or clever joke delivered hilariously by Jim Carrey, but before he straps Ed Begley Jr. up to the device, he walks behind him and knocks him over the head with a coffee pot.
Yes.
And Begley Jr., passes out cold and hits the ground. And Jim Carrey goes, "Caffeine will kill ya."
I love that.
And I loved it.
I love the opening of the next scene when he goes, "Rise and shine, sunshine." He's pulled the hair out of his nose.
He's really crazy.
He's nuts. He's over the top. And I think, that's well utilized in an insane loud movie.
Yes. Well, can we talk?
I think he's the best one.
He's working his ass off.
I mean, there isn't subtlety there.
No.
At all. But I think, when comparing him to, a Tommy Lee Jones, I think he's doing it right.
He's trying. I don't know if he's trying his ass off, and not all of it works, but I'm sure anything that makes us chuckle, he was the author of. Mm-hmm. And I feel like Tommy Lee Jones is just doing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if either one of you were going to take this line, we could take it again. But after the suicide after the killing that is portrayed as a suicide, it shows them kind of cleaning up the scene of the crime the next day.
Him talking to the cops.
Mm-hmm. And actually he's just talking to a coworker, Lieutenant Tao from The Closer. But it's a coworker. And he says, he was like a brother to me. What is it? He was like a father. He was like a father to me. Like a brother to me. Our cousin that visits all the time.
Yes.
He goes, "Get a grip, Edward." And he goes, "I couldn't possibly stay here after this." And then he says he found a note. And he goes, "You'll find the handwriting matches his exactly as to sentence structure and punctuation."
Yes.
And then that's the note that Gordon looks at. He goes, "Yep, suicide."
Yes. But wait, it's R.E. my suicide.
And also, though, there's where he says, "I couldn't possibly continue on." There, the memories. That's the funniest part of the whole movie for me.
Yes, I love it.
That feels like a Dumb and Dumber line that he threw away and was like, "I'm going to use that." Sorry, go ahead, please.
No, I really love the sentence structure and you said it. I love that.
Well, there's a little violin, portraying the sadness that felt like a little bit of a callback to Joker.
They're really leaning into the Jim Carrey. I was explaining to, I talked about this movie. I didn't watch it with him, but I talked about this movie with my 9-year-old who, the magic of Jim Carrey has translated to another generation. We've watched Dumb and Dumber.
That's amazing to hear.
And Liar Liar.
That's so cool.
Dude, I mean, it's just, I think that Jim Carrey is very funny to me, but I think that if you are a person of a young age, it is undeniable.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And just so, I've shown him those two movies, and when Jim Carrey is doing his thing, he's just belly laughing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was explaining to him how everyone in America felt the way you did after these couple movies came out. So by the time this Batman movie came out, they're just like, we're just going to we're going to lean into Jim Carrey going crazy for this entire movie.
Yeah.
And to me, it is the saving grace of this movie.
Uh-huh.
Because he has such command over his buffoonery that Tommy Lee Jones cannot sanction. I do think that it suffers in the... It was diminishing returns for me by the end of the movie because of the movie.
His funniest stuff is up front, though, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. And then he is at peak.
The whole time.
The whole time.
And I think that would work better for me if the rest of the movie wasn't.
It wasn't at peak, for sure.
If he's teamed up with Tommy Lee Jones and Tommy Lee Jones is playing it more grounded and is annoyed by how wild the Riddler is.
Yeah.
That would have been more interesting to me than the two of them just being like cackling
Bonkers,
goofballs.
Well,
the whole time.
What occurred to me, it's so funny, Walker, you mentioned King of Comedy, and I wanted to bring, is it Jerry Lewis who's in King of Comedy?
Yeah.
I was wondering as I was watching this, I was thinking about Jim Carrey's funniest roles to me. And I was thinking, like, he's funniest in this movie to me when he is either by himself or with somebody who's absolutely willing to let him steal the scene. Even though he does seem to be a generous actor at this stage, because, like, think about this movie in context. It came out in 95, which means it was shot in 94. And he had really only been on the scene since 93. I know that he was in...
Mask, Dumb and Dumber, and Ace Ventura were all huge hits, though.
Absolutely, but those were in the 93, 94
Yeah.
span. And but what was the show? Was it Mad TV that he was on? Or
He was on
Living
In Living
Color.
Color.
In Living Color, thank you. So he had like, quite a... But I feel like is still auditioning for America in a way in this movie. He is trying his ass off, and maybe not auditioning, but this is still early on. But I was thinking, like, he's most magic when he's by himself. And I feel like that's a little bit of a lost type of community. Now everything is about ensembles. You know, you think about like Judd Apatow, I feel like is a little bit of a moment in time. But like you look at Knocked Up and it's like, oh, Jonah Hill's in it. Like it's about sharing the screen and how much people can kind of feed off of one another. Whereas Jim Carrey is just like, he is funniest, Ace Ventura, The Mask, when he is just the central focus being a clown. And that's really interesting to me.
Kind of blowing out everything else around him.
Yeah, and I just feel like that, you think about he was born in 63, I want to say. So what he grew up on would have been somebody like a Jerry Lewis, who's like the Nutty Professor, just being funny by themselves. It was kind of tripping me out. I don't know. That's all. And then his funniest performance of all time, Dumb and Dumber.
Yes.
I think the reason it's so good is because Jeff Daniels is so grounded and a very like good actor. And had been in a lot of stuff and a lot of stuff since there, and he plays it so straight man. I don't know. I was just curious if you had any thoughts.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead. And yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, I was just agreeing with some of the points here about like, yeah, it's because this movie is at such a high volume that like he's not as excelling. I think like in terms of where we're at in the Jim Carrey career, I think we're more at the last gasp of like, we're getting to the end of him like wanting to, like he's starting to want to branch out and do other things because like Mask is 94. Ace Ventura is all before this. Dumb and Dumber is all before this. And I think, like...
After this, we get Truman Show in 97.
Yeah.
We get, in 2000, we get The Majestic. So an attempt at, like, serious...
So I think this is, like...
Yeah.
Less auditioning for America and more, like... I'm a little bit fed up with the me of... Like, or whatever, what like, this boxed-in thing that I'm doing. I don't know.
That makes sense. Yeah, and maybe maybe this is almost like this is like he's turning it up to like sarcastic levels of like, is this what you idiots like? Is it
maybe
like me acting so crazy? Because I mean,
but you do see the like. I mean, it's what he does.
Because
you hear the Ace Ventura-ness of it, the maskness of it, the like,
There is not a line in this movie that he delivers like a normal person.
Yes, no.
Like, and it's
absolutely
it's really entertaining to watch. It's also quite the choice. You know?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, we've covered so much of Riddler just within this one scene, and I know I did a ton of talking, but I just was wondering, in sequence, the circus is pretty much kind of...
Yeah.
Well, that's what the next scene I actually wanted to...
Yeah, I would love to kind of give you command over it, but can we just take a pause?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So next scene, I got to talk about my girl Maggie, who is Bruce Wayne's assistant.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
I wondered if she would stand out to you.
Yes, of course. You know I'm on Black Woman Watch.
Now, I think her name is Meg. Is it Mag?
It's Maggie.
Okay, I apologize. Wow, listen to me white-splaining what Maggie's name is.
Yeah, I think on the credits it's Margaret something.
I apologize.
But they call her Maggie.
Okay.
But this segues in nicely to what comes next because I love this line, and it's the first reveal of the next plot point.
Sure.
Right.
when she goes, "Who are you taking to the charity circus?"
Oh.
And I stopped and laughed out loud. Charity circus? Excuse me?
Well, charity is a bit of a
Have you heard of
circus.
a charity circus before?
Nice.
I haven't, but I'm not running in billionaire circles. Like,
Right. I
these are
guess
maybe
I don't
very
know what's
common.
going on, but
Yeah.
I just thought, first of all, that it's big news because Bruce Wayne is Mr. Gotham,
Right.
as we saw in Edward's office,
Mhm.
Yes.
the cover,
Mhm.
Mr. Gotham. But I just the first reveal of the charity circus really got me,
Mhm.
and I also had to point out my girl Maggie.
Well, I think it's good that you're pointing out Maggie too, because she's also integral to the plot point of Bruce receives his first riddle
Right.
Mhm.
from Edward Nygma, not yet the Riddler,
Mhm.
Right.
but he receives it, and I believe it's look at the numbers on my face, you won't find 13, and he plays the answer is a clock,
Mhm.
and then Maggie says, "Who would send you a riddle?" And he says, "That is the riddle." To which I call bullshit, and I say, "The riddle is the riddle." And you can maybe say, "That is another riddle." But it's
That's
weird.
subsection B of the riddle.
Yeah, it's weird to say that's the riddle when you're literally looking at a riddle.
Yeah.
Yes.
Nice job, Maggie. Pats her on the head.
Oh my god! Don't touch my hair.
Yeah. Oh, God. Well, isn't the mayor also a person of color, too?
Yes.
So a black
George
person can be
Wallace.
any civil servant in Gotham.
Yes.
Could be from secretary to mayor.
Thank you. Absolutely.
Or a henchman, I guess.
And how do you feel? How is the working relationship between Bruce and Maggie reading? Do you feel like he's a good boss? Do you think like what vibes are you getting there?
I think Maggie runs her own show.
Yeah.
Sure.
I felt
You
respect.
know what I mean?
I felt mutual respect.
Yes.
Acknowledgement. He's more respectful to her than to Alfred. Alfred and Bruce's interactions are very limited. In this.
Certainly
Alfred
than he is
is
to
quintessential butler.
Yes.
In this.
That's why he's so into
iteration.
Master
Yeah.
Dick, because he's like, Bruce is just not, treating me with much respect. Anyway, we were talking about the circus. I'm sorry. So,
No, I just was like charity circus.
well, Walker, yeah, but does he bring a guest to the circus?
So this is a huge thing for I think it's been referenced off mic a few times. Zach has pointed out the lisp. We freaked out as children in the part where he invites Chase Meridian to the circus with him, and the take they use, he goes, "Tell me, doctor, do you like the circus?" And
Yes.
I cannot believe that is the take they used.
And
He lisps so hard over the first sound so it's not the circus, it's the circus.
Yes.
I missed that.
He says it like he's saying thermos.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And we would rewind it a bunch as kids because we thought it was so funny.
Walker caught this, and he also caught there's a mistake in the animated feature film Beauty and the Beast. As kids, that Walker caught when he asks Belle if she wants to stay locked up in the tower. Beast goes, "Do you want to stay in the tower?"
Yeah.
And I remember as kids, Walker catching that and just being really impressed. So 2 for 2.
Oh, thank you.
right.
Yeah.
And my memory is that Mom was the one who pointed
Oh,
that
I
out.
think you're right. Okay. Well,
Yeah,
6
so-
of 1, 2 plus 2.
But you know what?
I don't
She doesn't listen to the podcast, so we can go ahead and give credit to me.
And why is he inviting her to the circus? It's because she is practicing kickboxing, and the world's greatest detective can't discern between a woman practicing kickboxing in her home office. But so he thinks she's being assaulted, and he breaks the door down, and she's sort of unfazed by that.
Yeah,
And-
because she's tough like a guy.
Yeah. And I just
Captain Save-A-Ho over here.
I don't mean to be lewd here,
Oh.
but the noises that are coming from her office,
Yeah.
my first thought is not
he
this
should give her
woman's
some
being
privacy.
attacked. I think
Okay.
I thought it's like something else that you might not want to kick the door in on. Sounds like it's happening.
But he knows that she's a total fucking capist, though, so he's not worried that she'd be getting on.
A capist?
Yeah, she'd be getting it on with anyone
She's a
else.
cape chaser.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so he invites her, and like you said, it's a charity circus. And Gossip Gertie, the wife of Bob Kane, she's like, she goes, "Bruce, who do you have here with you on your arm?" Or whatever when he arrives at the circus, and which I just think is great. That it's like there's like media as if it's a red carpet event.
Well, this is another thing that we should focus in on is that the circus is being watched by Edward Nygma, who
Yes.
again, he has committed his first murder. He's quit Wayne Enterprises and he is sent to Riddle, but he has not fully transitioned into his supervillain identity as the Riddler yet.
No.
But he is now, his obsession with Bruce has turned to one of hate. And he's watching all of this, and the
With popcorn.
Chiron with popcorn, the Chiron on the TV is like, live, Gotham Circus.
Right.
Which I also thought was really funny. That it's
Yes.
just like, wow, so they play the circus on a live feed in Gotham.
Yeah. And this circus is art directed within an inch of its life, just like the movie is.
Yes.
And I mean, it's a lot of bright colors. And I mean, if you're Bruce Wayne and you're Batman, are you impressed by any of this shit? But I should back up because we meet the Flying Graysons.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Well,
who do we meet at the circus?
Well, we meet Tammy Faye Grayson, the father, his brother. There's at least 3 children, right?
There's 2 boys and the parents.
Yes, so the 4 Flying Graysons.
The 3 men are all the exact same actors of the exact same age.
Yes, yeah.
You can tell the dad's dad because he has some flecks of gray in his hair.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
And yeah, I mean, and Bruce is just, really impressed by this shit. And it's like, you're Batman. None of this is impressive at all.
Sure, but he has to act as if. I also will say the homoerotic touch of this movie is also very on display during the trapeze scene to me, where I'm just like, wow, we are
So
really
many butts.
getting a lot of butt shots.
Yes,
of Chris
I
O'Donnell.
noted that.
Yeah.
So many butts.
Yeah, so many tight green butts.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Well, but Two-Face
I don't care. I just
being
know
the big being the big event that this is, Two-Face shows up because he's had it up to here with with Bruce, like with Batman foiling him, and so he basically is holding the whole circus hostage until somebody comes forward. And because the mayor is there too at the circus, so he said, like, unless somebody comes forward and says who Batman is, like who's his secret identity, I'm going to blow this whole event to hell. Correct?
Yeah. Correct.
And the Graysons foil Two-Face's plot. And
Can I say, just touch in on one thing too, though? They set it up pretty well, actually, because before the Graysons foil the plot,
Got it.
we can take them.
They're starting they're about to do a stunt called the Death Drop, which is performed as the very the very bigly performed circus ringmaster says, "Without the safety of a net."
What an insurance nightmare
Right.
for this charity circus.
Yeah, no kidding. Right? Yeah, there's like maybe the safety of a net. And also performing without the safety of a net. I'm sorry. Are these podcasters? Guys, we're doing this without the safety of a net.
That's
None of
right.
us have rehearsed what we're going to say at all.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, not since stand-up comedy have I seen someone perform without the safety of a net.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not exactly going to be a PC trapeze performance
That's
either.
right.
So yeah, I don't know. Do you have thoughts about the Grayson or the circus?
I just... can you imagine being a trapeze artist and being like, hey, we can stop this crime?
Yeah. Of course.
Zach's like, it's all I imagine. So you think that they, like, I mean, that's a little bit of victim blaming. You're kind of like, they should have known that.
No, I'm not blaming. I just like, I don't know if that tracks with reality, but
Yeah, that is true. It's like we are really good at one very specific thing.
Yes.
Why do they think that they should defuse a bomb?
We should fly our bodies into these criminals
Yeah, well, I wish it showed them the guy
without a
saying,
net.
without the safety of a net. It shows up to them and they're like, "What the fuck? Like, we didn't agree to this at all." But I love it. This scene features one of 2 of my least favorite moments of the film. I would say this slots in at number 2. So Two-Face, like I said, he has a bomb. They have 2 minutes. It's filled with TNT.
Yes.
And
classic cartoon device.
the most
weapon.
non-Batman moment, one of 2, and the entire film happens. He says, "Harvey, I'm Batman."
Yes.
He's even cupping like next to his mouth to elevate his voice. Batman would never do that. And
No.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to get into like this. Not my. He would never do that.
He would never do that because it's like, he can't hear you, so all you're
No
doing
shit.
is telling everyone
Everyone,
around you.
yeah.
Who
that you're
doesn't
Batman.
notice?
Including your
Gus?
date.
Gossip
Right
Gertie
next to
doesn't
you.
notice.
Who loves Batman?
Yes.
Yeah.
She doesn't notice. She can't hear. Well, women can't hear. We know that.
That's
guys.
right.
Come on. Let's be
That's
real
right.
here.
Poor senses.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if she is that insightful.
No.
Honestly.
Well, everyone's a wacko.
But
right?
a crucial plot point happens. The Flying Graysons, even Tammy Faye Grayson, like helps stop the bad guys, and Robin gets rid of a bomb. Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb, am I right? And it's very like 66, because
rolls it.
It's a cool shot when it explodes underwater. I rather enjoyed that, but the rest of the Flying Graysons fall to their death in a very artfully composed shot where it shows them all laying like dead apparently from falling without a net, and Robin survives. Dick Grayson survives. And what happens next? I mean, either one of you, I don't know. More on the circus or into what happens to this 32-year-old boy?
Well, for some reason,
He's awarded
the logical next step is that he go live with Bruce Wayne.
and
Right.
I don't
Commissioner
understand.
Gordon drops him off. Hey, he doesn't have any place to go. You need a new sex slave? you and Alfred?
Yeah, I mean, why, according to the logic of this movie, honestly, how old is he supposed to be?
18 or 17, because if he's a ward of the state, he couldn't be an adult. I mean, and it's just so funny to me that
This is a grown-ass
billionaire-
man.
Yes, even if he is 17, it's like, well, I mean, what? He's in the foster care system for a year. Let's just pretend he's 18.
Yeah.
He owns a bike,
Right.
a motorcycle.
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't know. Of all the fucking places, was Bruce submitting applications for foster children?
He's like, I'd like someone that I only have to look after for 6 to 8 months. Yes. How do you feel about Robin, Nicole?
Well, yeah, no, I had the same question. So Chris O'Donnell is 25
Okay.
in this role, but we all agree he looks much older.
Yes.
Right. And they are trying to give him a childlike quality, and he says, I don't want to talk to social services or something like that.
Because I'm 25.
But he is a man.
Yeah.
Like-
And to which Bruce responds, the circus must be halfway to Metropolis by now.
But I also want, I think we blew by the scene where Chase, calls Batman.
Oh, you're right.
Oh
We
my
did.
God,
I'm sorry.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh
Yeah.
my
So,
God, please.
I just wanted to note that, goes.
Yeah.
So she lures Batman with the
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 signal.
bat signal, which
to
means
try to
crime is
fuck.
happening.
Which I say, hey, girl, bold move.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. It's just a picture of her naked body, though, on the symbol.
This is the ultimate sliding into Batman's DMs is shooting the Batman
But this is
signal.
what I'm talking about of who is writing for this woman because she says something about she says something in the scene in high school, what is it about bad boys? In high school, it's guys with earrings. In college, it's guys with leather jackets and motorcycles. And now, black rubber. Something like that.
A little bit of a wink
Yeah.
and a nod to Catwoman, I feel like, too.
Sure.
Maybe. Sorry.
Yeah.
Please
Well, I
continue.
mean, yes, I think you said it best where you're she's this amalgamation. They're trying to fill that void with this hypersex.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just wanted to note further confusion of what age this guy is. He both has an earring and is wearing a leather jacket and has a motorcycle.
Yeah.
So I think there's just a lot of age confusion that they're throwing at you.
He's a real Beverly Hills 90210 17.
For sure.
Which
For
I know
sure.
this doesn't go anymore, but what side was the ear pierce to indicate that you were, was it your right side? I
That
don't
you're
know.
gay?
I don't
Yeah,
know
I
if,
don't
if Chris
know.
O'Donnell is wearing it on the, but it's just funny to me that they're just constantly telegraphing to you these men like women, but even with the side that he chose to wear his earring on might be. I can't remember. I need to go back and look. But.
Subtle wink to the audience.
Yes, yeah. But just going back to when she calls him on the roof, I love that Commissioner Gordon runs out in his jammies.
Cock blocks.
Like, is Commissioner Gordon like sleeping at the station from all the hard work that he
There's trouble
does?
at home. Being the police commissioner, it puts a strain on a marriage. Mrs. Gordon is like, why don't you just sleep at the state? Why don't you just sleep at the bat signal? You love Batman so much. Maybe he'll make you dinner.
I love how after she like comes on to him in the bat suit, you know, the reception is mixed, but he goes, ah, he just jumps off the side of the building. Like, he's so
scared of his horniness. And also, it should be said that she greets him at the bat signal wearing like lingerie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really heavy-handed.
Yeah, and there's like 2 Batman things that come. Is it the car? Chicks dig the car. You're like, oh my god, like just the eye roll, and then he jumps into, you know, he gets away from her and jumps into his Batmobile and is like, women. I mean, it's like there is just like I didn't realize how heavy it was on the.
No, I'm really glad you
Like-
pointed this out. Go ahead.
No,
please.
go ahead.
I'm just really glad you pointed it out because it specifically relates to what you're saying of like the really heavy touch of misogyny that's contained, but it also indicates what is a major tonal issue with this movie for me, which is the jokes.
Yes.
The first thing Batman says is, I'll get drive-through. Then there's the ones you just said. And this thing, it's just like, I think that Michael Keaton has great comedic timing and turns in some pretty funny moments in the first 2 movies.
They're very subtle, but yeah.
Some of them are better than others, but they all stem from the character.
Yeah.
And from the situations. And this is just like, they're just like, just trying to constantly plug in bits that to me make the whole thing stupid. Like, I hate that it starts with a drive-through joke. I hate that he says chicks dig the car. Like, it's just like...
Well, that's in Batman and Robin. He's in Batman and Robin. He says,
Nicole's right. He says it to
He said it.
Chase.
Oh, you're right.
When
He just
they're
said,
on
it's the car, isn't it? Chicks dig the car.
Yeah.
And
Okay,
then
sorry.
Robin makes the same joke in the next movie.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So
yes.
they're like, hey, this is a winner. We got to
Yes.
put this
Which, in my
there.
experience, chicks don't necessarily dig the car.
Right. I
I've gotten along just fine with a shitty car many times.
yeah.
Certain chicks dig the car, but you know, not all chicks.
Right. They like the shitty car that you have because it's just like, look, this guy's not going to leave me for an automobile. But yeah, I mean, that's really it. I just wanted to point out, like, this Jim Carrey aside, turning in what I think is a pretty successful comedic performance, the sense of humor of this movie is stupid.
Well, it's interesting because I think Joel Schumacher, you know, like really leaned into the Batman TV show that he presumably grew up on. Maybe he was a little older, he would have been in his teens at the time of its release. And like Adam West is so funny because he knew what it was tonally, right? And he leaned into that, and it's this really like sophisticated, layered humor, I think, of the original TV show. Whereas Val Kilmer, not a comedic actor, but like when he lands in his Batmobile and takes pause and says women, it's like he is a serious actor, regardless how good of an actor he was, right? But like, I don't know. I feel like the direction must have been like, hey, you know, be a straight man, but be funny. And I just don't feel like everyone is necessarily equipped to, you know, deliver comedic moments in that regard. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Do you guys have anything? There's another plot point that comes up here that I can take us to, but did you have anyone have more to say about
Are we
the scenes?
back with
Robin?
yeah, and his drop off?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Okay. Get in there.
So a few things happen. One that stood out to me is around when Robin gets dropped off at Wayne Manor is also when it introduces the recurring thing of Bruce having sudden disorienting flashbacks of his parents' death.
because Robin's parents were murdered.
Right. And it's kind of presenting it as if Bruce hasn't like thought about this.
Or
at
process
all.
his trauma.
Yes, but it's also like he's very like stunned that he's having these flashbacks where it's like, this is like literally your entire identity is avenging your parents' death. Like it's weird that you're trying, but there's also
Why am I Batman again? Oh yeah.
yeah, right. Oh yeah, something like really kind of messed up happened to me.
Yeah.
But like, but I also really liked it because he like has a moment where he has the flashback, and Alfred's like, "Are you okay?" And then Bruce, kind of talking to himself, says like, "I killed them," and I loved it because it was like his Robert Durst moment, where he's like, "What did I do?" Killed them all, of course. Like, I really expected Val Kilmer to start like burping aggressively. But that's it. I wanted to point out.
No,
that plot
sir.
point.
You said I killed them.
Right.
God, sorry.
My
Timing is as good as Michael goes.
You said I go.
My fucking line, Alfred.
Does anything else about this kind of point in the movie where Robin is introduced to Batman and Alfred stand out to either of you guys?
Well, okay, I had a question about Alfred lore.
Mm-hmm.
Is he a good mechanic in the
comics?
book?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
In the comics, it's really cool. They kind of, in Earth 1, they sort of like gussied him up to have been in like MI6, which I thought was a nice touch. Like, so he could sort of shepherd Bruce's growth as like a detective and fighting person. In this, they just gesture at it lightly, even though Michael Gough is 906 years old.
I know. I was just like, I can't imagine him.
This version of Alfred is much more reductive than he is in the comics, or than they've treated him since.
As I said, he's very Butler.
But I think I know where you were going, or I maybe this is what put it, because
they mentioned it.
Yes, when they're examining the bikes, this is how Bruce relates to this young orphan of 86.
Yes.
He goes, Alfred hasn't gotten that one running yet, and I'm like, Alfred, what? Like, Alfred's working on like bikes are heavy. Like,
what about his back?
I know.
Alfred hasn't lifted this refrigerator yet. but
cheese sandwiches, that's his purview.
I've told Alfred if he retires a day before he's 95, I'll take his pension.
Yeah. But the way they introduce us to Dick being a hard ass, I don't know.
This is a Joel Schumacher movie.
He says close-ups on his ass.
Yeah, he says he calls Alfred Al. Ooh, man, what a hard ass. We already talked about his earring.
This is not your mother's ward of the state.
Yeah. And also, I like the way Bruce, and air quotes around like, but I do kind of enjoy it, the way he relates to this young ward of the state, is he said, hey, man, you can go. I'm not going to try and keep you here. You're your own man, in effect. But then he mentions that your bike needs gas. What's more manly than a bike, right? Am I right? Yeah. And so
it needing gas.
Yeah, right. Talking about his butt. So he's like, so he has to like refill his bike. They bond over. They only made like 100 of these. 101 actually, about a very rare bike.
Yeah.
And so then
it's a Vincent Black Knight.
Yeah, which is not. I don't know my motorcycles too well, but I don't think that's a real bike.
I don't know.
But he has, hang out in many biker bars, Bruce. So that's how we know Dick is a hard ass, is calling him Al and Bruce. I don't know. I just wanted to point that out.
And also kind of like being like, you're not legit.
Yeah.
Like you don't know what you're talking about.
And we find out he has, because no one in these fucking Batman movies seemed to know that Bruce's parents were murdered, even though he's the most famous billionaire in all of Gotham, if not the most famous person.
I'm glad you brought that up. It happens way later in the movie, but we can talk about it now. There's a scene where Dick Grayson says to him, like, how can you say that? You don't know what it's like. Your parents weren't killed by a maniac. And Bruce literally goes, yes, they were. And Dick just blows past it. You'd think he'd go like, whoa, really? That's crazy that happened to both of us.
Can we hold hands and talk about it? But no, it just blows right past it. Yeah.
It's just so funny to gaslight Bruce Wayne with like, this didn't happen to you, which it's like, actually, this is the main thing that happened to Bruce Wayne. Everyone knows like two things about him: billionaire, dead parents.
Well, and so after bonding about the bikes, we stay kind of with Master Dick, and Alfred is kind of helping him unpack his backpack of things. Oh, no. And we learn the lore of, not only is he a trapeze artist, but his helmet has a robin painted on it because his brother said, flew in like a robin. Nobody talks about robins in a heroically cool way. It may as well be like
eagle
the crow.
Or something.
Yes, an eagle or a fucking osprey or something. I don't know. It's so dumb.
But like an osprey.
Well,
he said, I held him in my mouth like a pelican.
Exactly. Anything would be a better, like, osprey doesn't roll off the tongue like Robin. And I realize the character is named Robin. But robins are kind of pretty weak, fucking low totem pole birds. They're not apex predators at all. And it just cracked me up. Said he flew in like a robin.
I can't believe that we're like 25 episodes into this podcast. It took this long to get to your like clearly thought out bird hierarchy. And that robins are very low status on it.
But can we just say, I think Robin, they tried in the Nolan movies. Robin is impossible to translate to the screen, in my opinion.
Okay,
The one way
I wanna
Nolan
hear
tried to
this.
Nolan it up was by making him like Bruce's assistant, which is so dumb. Remember Joseph Gordon-Levitt is Robin?
Yeah, isn't he a cop?
He's a cop, yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, he barely helps do anything. And I think that for some reason it works on the page. Even in The Dark Knight Returns, Robin is a girl, Carrie Kelly, and she's like super athletic and all that. And it works, but it makes you can't escape the weirdness of not only is this grown man employing the services of a little boy, which is automatically strange,
Right.
but he's putting a child in danger.
Right.
I just don't think there's any way you could ever make it work. I don't know what are you guys' thoughts about it. I don't know.
I hadn't thought about it, but that's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't know how it could ever work on the screen. That's all. That's my thoughts.
I mean, I guess I could only speak to it in terms of my own experience, having not a ward of the state, but a ward in my care of my own son. And I don't think that I'm going to have him engage in vigilante crime fighting activity with me.
Yeah.
And if I started doing it, I got to be honest, I love this kid. I think he'd slow me down. I don't know if
Well,
he'd be,
Bruce feels the same way.
yeah. I don't know if he'd be bringing a ton to the table.
Maybe grittier beginnings than a trapeze artist. I don't know.
That's a good idea.
Well, his parents were murdered. Yeah, well, yeah, that's true.
I mean, I don't know. Something where this is great. I don't even know why I'm
Please.
indulging in this. But that's
Please
what we're
pitch
here
a new
for.
Robin.
Yeah,
Where somehow the crime fighting is saving him from what his fate would be.
Right.
Like it's actually a better alternative. I don't know. That would probably be a pretty depressing storyline.
Right.
No, but
Yeah.
like if he's a petty criminal and he's developed like survival
Sure.
skills.
Yeah.
Yes.
And like it's martial, like, whatever. If he's
Yeah.
he had to he got like mixed up with a gang or something and he had to like learn how to like fight his way out or some
Right.
shit like that. I think that works better too because you called Bruce Wayne Captain Save-A-Ho earlier and like he's definitely Captain Save-A-Boy-Ho with Robin.
a man.
Yeah, a man. Oh, sorry. Yes. But I'm having a hard time seeing what Dick Grayson really needs saving from. He has a job. He's an expert like in his field.
Yeah, he has skills.
And he's about to be a grown-up. So it's
Right.
just they're whatever. They're just not doing a great job of selling it. It feels like it's being sold on the fact more of like, hey, audience, you know what Batman and Robin is.
Yeah.
So here you go.
And
So you don't feel like the pull of him, he's going to go kill Two-Face anyway, is like...
Oh no, they do set that up rather
I guess
nicely.
that's true. He's trying to protect him from himself.
But yeah, I do understand.
Yeah,
It
because within
doesn't
that
feel-
conversation about bikes and everything, he said, "I'm going to find Two-Face and I'm going to kill him."
Yeah.
I don't think Chris O'Donnell's bad in this movie. I will say, as much as I think
He's
there's
fine.
a lot of fun teasing with the owl. And kind of within this point in the movie, it's not identical, or it's not right here, but we see that he's a hard ass because of the way he does laundry.
I wanted to talk about
Oh,
The way he
we
prepares-
gotta talk
so-
about karate laundry.
Yeah, go ahead.
that sounds like a great like funk song from 1975.
Yeah.
Karate Laundry. Everybody spinning their shirt now.
Well, yeah.
Ring
And I'm
down with your foot now.
Hanging on the line with my toesies.
It's also grossly inefficient. Like, just throw it in the dryer.
Okay.
Like, they're not worried about bills.
Describe the karate laundry.
Well, he's taking a load of wash out of the machine, and he, rather than use the dryer, which they had in 1995, 94, he wrings it out by like doing karate laundry. It's almost like origami fighting or something. It's so strange to me.
and the soundtrack is an electric guitar shredding,
Yeah.
doing all these dive bombs.
Yeah, it's like, could we have seen any other way in the world that this person is a badass besides this?
Besides the
I don't know.
dominating their clothes.
Exactly.
That didn't read for you guys. Okay.
No, and I mean, and we also this is like Master Dick is kind of just wandering around the mansion. There's also maybe one or two incidental scenes, but we see, he's got his suspicions that something's up, and so when Alfred is going into the Batcave, he uses all his skills as a trapeze artist to like cut behind him and make it.
Yes, and I gotta say, the intruder alert.
Oh my God! Here's the car.
Revealing
Here's the car.
everything
Yeah.
that's in the Batcave is like
What kind of a
horrible
security
feature,
system is that?
terrible design.
That is a design flaw, isn't it? That
Yes.
it's like, oh, an intruder's in here, open it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
They've
show,
seen it. They
Show
might
us
as
the
well
Bat car.
Yeah.
Here are my valuables. Here are my valuables. It's
Yes.
just like, what?
Stop looking at me. Stop looking at me.
And Al gives him like the slightest of like, you naughty boy.
Yes, because this is a big issue Zach and I have had in the previous two movies. Sorry, let's be honest, it's a
They
movement.
are movies.
Yeah, absolutely.
This one is especially a movement, if you know what I mean. Al, I'll call him Al. You can call me Alfred.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Yeah, actually, little known fact, that song is about
Alfred
Pennyworth. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Alfred is like psychotically anxious to let anybody Bruce Wayne becomes involved with interpersonally into the Batcave. This happens in Selena Kyle doesn't get let into the Batcave. He's a little more tight-lipped in Batman Returns. But
right.
in the first one, for no reason at all, he lets Vicky Vale into the Batcave.
We need some feminine energy.
Yeah, he's always like, she brings a certain freshness to the place. And it's always like, yeah, but that's no reason to blow the
Yeah, just
whistle.
pour some potpourri. Come on.
Right. It's just also this Batman thing kind of falls apart if everyone knows he's Batman. At this point, 50 people in Gotham know that Bruce Wayne is Batman. And I'm sorry, that would get out.
Yeah.
He's a famous guy.
Yeah,
And
Mr. Gotham.
I just think it's shame on Bruce for not keeping Alfred on a shorter leash by this time. And shame on Alfred for once again, oh, I'm just leaving the door open a crack, Master Dick, or whatever. It's just this keeps happening.
Well, in my notes here,
Tighten up the security around here.
Yeah, Joel Schumacher did want to have Val Kilmer having Alfred on a leash in one scene, but they did have to.
Yes.
But Master Dick gets in. We don't really know what transpires after that, but this does sort of, because we're going to circle back, I think, to the villains hopefully soon. But this actually is an interesting production note. So there was two Batmobiles. Chris O'Donnell did take one of the Batmobiles out for a spin and caused $60,000 in damage.
Oh, no
and
shit?
So
I did see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he demanded he drive it.
Yes.
And not the stunt
Yes.
double. Yes.
And he totally ruined a bunch of shit, and they had to pause production for 2 weeks.
Ooh.
And but this is within the context.
So a
of
real life bad boy.
Yeah, within the context of the film, though, he goes out to Dayglow rave fight party in downtown Gotham to what? To cause trouble?
To hit on women.
Alicia Silverstone. Oh no, that's the next movie. Sorry.
Well, so I wanted to talk about this scene with Nicole.
Yes, because In Vogue's in this scene.
What?
Yeah.
Please speak on it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, in the Joyride scene when he gets downtown and there's all the neon people or whatever, those women yelling
Who make
at
fun
him.
of him?
Yes, that's In Vogue.
And
I
Vogue
had no
credited
idea.
as Girl on the Corner. In the
Ew.
I know. We're hoping to see Batman is what it says.
Do better by In Vogue.
Yeah, no kidding.
Also, give him a song on the soundtrack, please.
No kidding.
Whatever.
Okay, so A, I had no idea. That's
Yes.
fascinating. B, when he pulls up and tries to holler at them and they make fun of him, possibly my favorite part of the movie.
Yes.
I obviously don't want to do a voice or inflection, but he is like, hey, what's up, honey? Something to that effect.
Hey,
and
Batman.
then, they're like, are you Batman? Or no, what is he says, I'm Batman, and one of them says, that ain't Batman, that's Batboy.
Yeah.
There you go.
I loved it.
We're eating it up.
Serve it back to him.
Thank you.
But also, Chris O'Donnell does like a weird, like, look, I don't want to hold this movie to 2023 standards, but like he does some weird. I don't know what voice he's doing, but it feels like some sort of ethnic affect.
What did he
Really?
say?
When?
Love machine, baby.
Oh, God, love machine. And I'm like, what?
Baby. Yeah,
It was
it's
like
really
a
bad.
it was like a
bad.
cholo
Something.
Latino thing.
This
right?
happened to be one of the few moments Kailani was walking through the room as I was watching it, and I was like, well, of all the moments,
Right.
to see your sad husband watching a Batman film in preparation for a show of a 27, now 28-year-old movie, and it just, you want to ride my love machine, baby? And I was so embarrassed for me and my existence.
And I'm sure you were quick to, don't worry, the rest of the movie is like woke as fuck.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
You should have walked in on the super empowering scene where Chase Meridian is
Don't let
seducing.
O'Donnell improv.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I
Here,
hated
Kai,
that
listen to
part.
this very deep voiced villain who's in it. It's vaguely some other race. I don't know what he is. Goes, Batman! That guy.
Wait, who are you talking?
At the
the guy
Dago
who
rave.
beats up.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
She walked out and didn't listen to me. at all.
She's just like, I don't have time for
Yeah.
this.
Also, huge product placement for McDonald's. I'm sure they're happy.
Oh, I didn't
There
catch
was
that.
giant golden arches in the background of that scene.
Oh, okay.
The joyride scene where he was pulling in.
Oh.
That makes sense
Yeah.
because the opening joke, the drive-through joke, was used in a commercial for McDonald's. And
Perfect.
this is weird. I wanted to tell you guys about this. I was researching earlier what the McDonald's merchandise tie-in was.
Uh-huh.
There's obviously Happy Meal toys and the boxes and bags and everything had Batman Forever art all over it. They also did these frosted mugs that have the characters on them. The strangest one is the superhero burger is what it was called.
Okay.
And what it is a regular ass McDonald's burger, but it's 3 patties, 2 different kinds of cheese, and it's on this is a quote, superhero bun, which is an elongated, submarine sandwich style bun.
Okay.
And that's the Batman. Somehow this is to invoke the idea of Batman, that you're eating a very long McDonald's burger.
It's what he ate that night.
That's what he ate
that
before he went.
Alfred offered him a sandwich.
Yeah, exactly. and
No, I'll get my superhero burger.
now we know why that ass was so fat. Because he's eating nothing but superhero burgers. But yeah, so that's a good call, though. But definitely promotional consideration.
Yes.
Very much paid for by McDonald's. I did not notice that, probably because everything else in the scene was glowing.
Yes.
Yeah, which Batman, the real Batman, does kind of come and rescue him. Mm-hmm. And this is where we kind of see the connective tissue between them as men, or man and boy, I guess.
Yeah.
Because, he's upset that his parents died and that Batman didn't help. Mm-hmm. Right? As he's wailing on him, or air quotes around that, it should have been you or whatever.
Yeah.
Then we have this really stupid scene after when he says, even when I was fighting you. And it's like, you weren't fighting him.
Yeah, I pictured I was fighting Two-Face the whole time.
Yeah.
Even when I was fighting you, if you can imagine. I hate this movie.
Oh my gosh.
Well, we've kind of come to a crawl because this is where the movie kind of slows to a crawl. But then I do think that I know that one of the interspersed scenes that we probably went by is Riddler going to Two-Face's lair and creating a partnership, right? Do you have anything you want? Anybody? Anyone want to say anything?
Well,
on
I
that?
think just in terms of mapping us out a little bit, I think we should talk about this scene, and I think that's a good way in for us to kind of it's come up, but talk about the Two-Face of it all a little bit too, because we have covered a lot of Riddler. Nicole, did you have any thoughts about Two-Face's lair when Riddler finds him with his device?
Well, famously, as mentioned before, this is when I realized what he was supposed to be doing with his performance.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Was it the big face that clued you in? The big face on the wall?
He did something.
Right.
I can't remember what it was.
The
I
2
should have
cigars
noted
being
it.
lit.
No, I
He's smoking a cigarette and a clove cigarette at the same time out of 2 sides of his mouth.
Again, I'm
Just
having a hard
disgusting.
time explaining what it was I didn't understand until this moment. I understood the 2 halves and the 2 cigarettes, the 2 dinners. The
I should
sugar
say
and
I did not
spice.
get any of this either until this most recent rewatch. So I'm right there with you.
Yeah. And we're like 55 minutes in at this point.
Right.
When Riddler has chosen his identity and come into the lair to approach Two-Face. And he did something with the performance where I finally understood that these two sides were in communication with one another, and one was like egging everything on and one was trying to stop the other one. But again, he's doing the same voice for everything.
Yeah.
And I can't remember what exactly it was in the performance that illuminated it. But yeah, anyway.
Well, I think that one thing that stands out to me when we finally see Two-Face, I almost called him Tupac.
No. Although, why didn't Tupac have two faces?
Oh my God! Honestly, this is if he had lived longer,
Yes.
there would have been an album called Two-Face.
Oh, yeah.
He would have had a song on this soundtrack called Two-Face.
And it would have been great.
Pac face? I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway,
TU-face.
yeah, there you go. Hey, Face! That's my favorite character of the movie. Face! Come on, look at what's going on.
So it peaked early for you.
Yeah, Dennis Rodman for me. That character.
I love that you're just the mind of a child. It's so great. Just like, oh, and now he's doing this.
So accidentally racist.
No, well, I think sure, but I think it also speaks to just like your limited set of references is how you
Yes.
interpret everything.
Yeah. And to be fair, there weren't a lot of prominent black male athletes dyeing their hair with like really funsy tattoos in the 90s.
No, he was a major outlier,
Yeah.
wasn't he?
Yeah.
In this scene, what I find interesting is this is where we're introduced to Two-Face's lifestyle, and I do mean lifestyle because it turns out he is in a very progressive sort of polycule throuple situation that immediately becomes less progressive when it is made clear what the roles of everyone involved in this, which is that these are his sexy servants.
Yeah.
And they each one of his girlfriends
Has made his favorite.
Zach said it was, no, I made your favorite. Also, two
Little
very...
itty bitty quail eggs.
I was about to just say, this is like a thing for
Poached
me.
salmon.
Yeah, okay. Two very attractive, sexy women in this movie. They're and the performances and clothing is very, very sexed up. When they start describing the food, I like want to fucking throw up. I hate that so much. I don't like sexiness and food mixing, and I didn't like the way Drew Barrymore talked about itty bitty quail eggs.
It really grossed me out as well.
Incited some revulsion in me. But
Have we name checked Debbie Mazar yet?
She's Spice.
Okay.
she plays Spice. It's a very like Drew Barrymore is like angelic. She's got like body glitter all over. She's in
Sugar.
She's platinum blonde, wearing all white. Debbie Mazar is Spice. She's dressed like Rita from the Power Rangers.
I read in the trivia that their original names were Leather and Lace,
Okay.
which would have been
The studio was
perfectly
like,
on
Joel,
theme.
Yeah.
the studio's just like, Joel, we
everything
know
in
we're
here.
giving you a lot of leeway, but no, these are Sugar and Spice.
Yes.
So save your personal life for other movies.
Naughty and Nice would have worked also.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that,
Stupid and dumb. The way they're played, I think, is more on the nose. But yeah, they lived to. Sorry, I'm sorry. You were saying.
yeah,
They
kept
made him a
and
dinner.
kidnapped.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I mean, how did they hook up with Two-Face?
Right.
Under
Under duress. That's how, yeah.
Yeah. Do you think that they were like? Do you think either of these girlfriends was part of his pre-Two-Face identity?
Yeah, they were both his secretary on different days.
Yeah.
Court reporter.
Yeah.
I mean, God, that's an interesting thing about the Batman universe is these guys really are able to, these like monstrous villains are really able to find girlfriends.
Well,
but I
they're
guess
both-
even Charlie Manson got married in prison.
Yeah, they're both very empty-headed, and I'm saying that in the context of the movie. I'm not saying, but the way they're written. But what cracks me up is that Riddler finds Two-Face's lair, where he's tipping his hand that there's some sort of duality. The girlfriends are competing over what his actual favorite dish is. I do think that it's clear he chooses Debbie Mazar's dish.
Yeah.
Because when she kind of caps it all off, he gets the most excited, and Riddler wanders in. They talk a little bit.
You thought about which one is actually
Yeah, let's not blow by this.
Well, when she goes straight out, baby, he's like, ha! And I feel like, oh,
Zach's
Drew
like,
Barrymore.
we've made a decision.
Yeah, Drew Barrymore is kind of like off in the corner, like a little pouty.
And so that means that every night, like one full meal is thrown away.
Well, I mean, maybe they have some light
Villains.
potatoes.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, so
Tupperware.
they kind of like, yeah. No, I bought the Pyrex dish with which we'll seal this.
She's been trying to unload these quail eggs for like 5 days straight. She just keeps reheating them.
But what's funny is Riddler comes in and sort of like tells Two-Face like his larger scheme, which is to steal minds, apparently.
Yeah.
And
Suck up brainwaves.
right, and when he's showing him this, there is like a nice nod to like, this is your brain on drugs or whatever. He says like, does anybody else feel like a fried egg? But what's kind of baffling or not, I don't know, is he shows Two-Face by having Debbie Mazar and Drew Barrymore independently connected to the device and what it feels like to absorb their brainwaves. We've just seen that these are totally empty-headed people. Like, and it's really funny because Two-Face really enjoys it. And he says, I'll have a bit more, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just, I mean, I'm not even trying to be funny here. Like, the film is what's offensive. But like, does it feel good to get people's thoughts or brainwaves or this information?
I think they sort of seem to imply by how Riddler reacts to it too, that there is like a physical sensation that like seems like slightly sexualized. Like they're deriving pleasure.
Yeah,
from
they
it.
stick this big dildo on their head. And
Right.
like-
But I mean, serious though, like it even shows what Debbie Mazar and Drew Barrymore are thinking about, and it's nothing. It's cartoons.
Cartoons, yes.
I mean,
I thought about this too.
Okay, please, thank you.
Earlier, yes. I thought about this too earlier in when he was doing it to Ed Begley Jr. because he
Fishing.
was like, because he was saying like, "No, I'm a genius" or
Yeah,
whatever, and I
right.
was like, "Well, is this dude a genius?"
Yes,
and then,
thank
like,
you.
What I took it to mean is that it's not so much that the fact that. Wow, I'm really getting into it. But like what I was trying to figure it out. And like what I took it to mean was that it wasn't so much about the intelligence of the person, but like the computing power that you're adding to your own computing power.
Okay. No, I really appreciate it.
Yes.
I was wandering there, but I needed help. And
I think they're even by the end trying to imply that his like literal brain is growing bigger.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we saw that. Yeah.
Two-Face doesn't seem to like his intellect or anything doesn't seem to really. I guess neither of them really seem smarter, but I do like though that after they've partnered up within this scene, and we can go back to it if you want, but like when we see that Nigma has kind of gone his own way, right? Like sort of, I'm trying to think of an example, but you know, we see him again presenting the box to a like big audience of press and people. And, you know, his dream is to put the box on every home in America. And so he's doing like a legal and illegal version of it, basically, right? Like,
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, he's manufacturing it as a product, but what people don't know is the side effect is that he's stealing their minds.
Right.
Yes. Which I thought this is where I was like, oh, this is like relevant to now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Data mining and
Yeah,
all of
I
that.
agree.
And
Yeah.
now they
stuff.
tell us they're doing it, and we just sign up
let
for it
them,
voluntarily.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I did want to say just one more thing, though, about Two-Face's lair.
Yeah.
Which is that he lives with two women. I think we all agree this is not a flattering or well-thought-out characterization of these female characters.
No.
Right?
Right.
But I think one of the most offensive things about it is Two-Face lives with two women, and that his lair is that poorly decorated. Just as somebody who has had female roommates, like the place would have better aesthetics than that.
Right. I agree. I agree.
I think it shows.
Two people.
We're doing
So
one.
you were saying it was sexist in the wrong way.
Yeah.
And it should have been sexist.
In my way.
In a different
Yeah.
way. Yes. Okay.
I tried to neutralize it by saying two people. At least one out of three of them would have a better sense of decor.
No, this is why we have you here, Nicole, to call this sort of thing out. when you see
Right.
it. But remember, this is I'm in character.
Anything
Anything that I say that's smart is the real me coming through, and anything I say that's dumb is the character. That honestly, our audience is really stupid, and they kind of expect me to be this way.
That doesn't reflect the views of the podcast.
No.
But,
Only my crazy character.
Got it.
I know that you mentioned on or off mic, I can't remember, but that there is a scene of Nigma kind of modeling himself after Bruce Wayne that you really enjoyed. Can we? Is it okay if we talk about that?
Yeah, of course. I
Yeah,
think we're
it's
there in the movie.
I think we are there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he does the press conference and he is styled exactly as Bruce Wayne was in that opening scene where we see them.
Yeah. Can I
talking
pause
to
and
each
ask you a
other.
question?
Yeah.
Who is more handsome to you? Val Kilmer, cutting a dashing figure in this movie, or Jim Carrey cutting a dashing figure within this part of the film when he has the nicely parted
I'd say
hair?
Jim Carrey.
Okay, I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, I was
Yes.
just curious. Keep going.
I also think it's very impressive that he's able to get his hair
Mm-hmm.
like that by day
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and in the orange flat top by
Yes.
night.
Yeah.
Different lengths.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. What
There
is
has
he
to be-
doing?
I agree. I thought that too. And also, his whole aesthetic is so Riddlered out at night that this is like Riddler as a huge team of behind the scenes people making these transitions happen.
Same objection you had in Batman 1989, that what were the logistics of converting everything to Joker?
Yeah, exactly.
But anyways, yeah.
Also in this press conference, we get the reveal of his company name,
Mm-hmm.
Nigma Tech.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dangerous waters to be
Well,
named.
I thought the whole Nigma thing was was a little dangerous.
I didn't even actually think of that until
Oh,
I just heard both of you saying it a lot. And I was like, wow, this is
I know.
You don't want to have this be a tongue twister.
No, you don't. But I will adopt it as my company name. Nigma Tech Industries.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Imagine their New York Stock Exchange symbol would just be like NG. Yeah.
NGMA. I don't know. We need 3 letters.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
It's all about which three.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a delicate dance.
I have a question for both of you, but Nicole, since you're keyed in on this scene a little bit, did you guys find the transition to famous tech entrepreneur Edward Nigma to be a little bit jarring and kind of out of
Quick.
nowhere?
Yeah.
I suppose, following the movie logic as generously as I can, I think that what's happening is all these robberies him and Two-Face
Yeah,
are
Two-Face is
committed.
funding it. He even says as such
Okay.
when he meets him, I need your funding, and in exchange, I will help you solve the riddle of who is Batman.
Okay. So it just did strike me as really kind of, I had whiplash when all of a sudden his daytime persona is a legitimate competitor to Wayne Enterprises.
Well, yeah,
All of
you
a sudden. I'm
think
like,
about-
how did this fucking happen?
Bringing between the R&D and manufacturing and bringing all that shit to market, that's going to take at least 2 years. And I mean, but they don't give you any indication that amount of time has passed.
Okay,
So logistically,
we'll just,
I was
it's movie
frustrated.
time, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this will come up in a scene I really enjoy, but things move fast
Mhm.
in this movie.
Yeah.
And some things are overly prolonged, but also it's when you said this is the simplest plot,
Yeah.
I don't remember the other 2 movies as well. And I was shocked because I was like, there are so many plots and so many things going on in this movie.
I think it's simpler. I had to think about that one too.
There's
I
just
think that what
so
the
many
villains-
lines and so many things getting picked up and dropped and picked up and dropped and picked up.
Maybe
And-
I think it's simpler because it's asking you to take it less seriously than the first 2 movies
Okay.
are.
Sure.
So
Gotcha.
each thing that's kind of introduced in the first 2 movies warrants a fair amount of follow-up.
Mhm.
And in this, they're just kind of because they're going for this very kitschy tone, it feels like with stuff like Edward becoming this, billionaire tech entrepreneur overnight, they're kind of you get it.
Yeah,
And
I
the-
also do think things move pretty fast in the tech world. It
Sure.
seems
Mhm.
like, I don't know, I'm just relating it to
Yeah.
these times, but if you can get a shitload of money and have
Yeah.
half an idea.
Right. Little do they
Like-
know they're funding the next Theranos by everybody
Right,
signing off.
exactly.
On this.
And there's not a lot of substance
Which
or whatever.
Can we talk about, speaking of Theranos, when she sticks the tube of goob in the thing what that Bruce Wayne walks into, where they can read his minds. I got some Theranos vibes. She literally sticks a tube of like hand soap.
Yeah,
probably.
She has a glow stick.
Yeah, a glow stick. And I mean, I'm jumping ahead, but like that's a scene that upcoming, which has my favorite Jim Carrey Edward Nygma jealous of Bruce Wayne, when he is like at this gala and he goes over to Bruce Wayne, he even gestures at it, and he goes, "How's my mole?" And like as if to say that he has put a mole. So he's still jealous of Bruce. So I really like that touch.
And I love the glasses.
Yes.
Where every time I love that.
So funny.
This is like my favorite in terms of
I love that part. And also speaking of Two-Faces,
that real quick.
Yeah.
It's that Nygma has now had his like glow up.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm the prom queen now, and he goes up and is kind of like gloating to Bruce, but still Bruce at a certain point goes, "Edward," and takes off his glasses, and Jim Carrey immediately takes his glasses off.
So funny.
Yeah, Jim Carrey, and he just plays these physical movements so beautifully and hilariously.
I love that. And you were saying that initially, just like at first glance, Two-Face's relationship to Sugar and Spice might be progressive. How potentially progressive?
At a very cursory glance.
Yes, but then he, speaking to both progressive and disgusting, he has apparently given Sugar away to Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Because she's on his arm and Jim Carrey's not being nice to her.
Further proof he prefers her dinner.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I like this scene though, Batman crashing through the skylight.
I love how keyed in on these two dinners. That's the true duality in this movie. Is like, what kind of meal do you prefer?
Yes. But this scene though, where Jim Carrey is being really comedically amazing, you know, kind of matching Val Kilmer's aesthetic and movement and all that. He does go into like this little booth that looks like where you'd get your fucking picture taken at like a movie theater or a carnival or something, and wouldn't you know it, he thinks about bats. Okay. In a town where everyone would be obsessed with bats. Wouldn't everybody be thinking about bats?
I'm sorry. You think he thinks about bats?
A bat. Sorry, a bat.
It's just one bat. It's the same shot every time of one bat. Because he's not Batsman. He is Batman.
Right,
he means
right.
one specific bat.
Preach on it.
No, but you're saying like in the town Batman lives in, people would have that.
Yes, how many people would have that thought? It's not like he's imagining like, oh, when I fought this crime this one time, that like tips his hand that he's Batman, but whatever. But that his little thought bubble is interrupted by Two-Face invading his own gala, or Jim Carrey's gala. And Batman goes and like zips up and changes and crashes through the skylight, which I love that shot. I just want to say, I love that part.
A couple things are coming up here that because you're right. This is where the mythology of the movie is getting a little complicated. I don't think we've said that Nygma's new device that he unveils, and I'm just going to call him Edward from now on.
Yes, thank you. We all appreciate that.
Edward's new device is one that can. It's gone from putting you inside the reality of the show or movie you're watching to now one that can simulate your fantasies.
That's
and
right.
At the unveiling of this device, he has people getting into the machine and then their fantasies being projected. I'm sorry. I don't mean to reveal too much about myself here. You could not pay me enough money to get in front of a ballroom of people and just be like, yeah, first thing I think about, I'm okay with just being projected on a screen in front of everybody.
Right.
Like, who in their right mind would do that?
Well, yeah, you don't want everyone seeing you in a negligee.
Yeah, exactly. Or just, or just like Batman's butt.
How's about the one test subject that he does, though, that agrees to do it? His fantasy is apparently just women coming up and putting jewelry on him.
Lays. It's a Hawaiian vacation.
Right.
And then the other, you're conflating the two. The other's one is she has like a tiara and diamonds.
Yeah, okay.
Because men want women to serve them and women want possessions and money. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Take the diamonds.
But I mean, honestly, guys, are either of you getting in this machine?
No,
just like, everyone can see.
Other people. No, not publicly.
Exactly. No. Yeah, no, I do it in my own time. I'm certainly not winging it in front of a bunch of strangers.
Winging
though.
it?
Thank you.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
So
I just like be sitting there like, just like forcing myself to think about me like committing like charitable acts. Just like
Charity
okay.
circus.
Yeah, it's just like wow, his fantasy is to build
To be the
low-income
ringmaster
housing
at a charity circus.
It just like pulls out.
without the
Which we
safety.
all know about and exists.
Yeah, you could just do that. We have 5 ringmasters for this thing. Just get in the circuit.
Get in the union.
Yeah.
So that does move the plot along, though, and I know. I mean, we probably don't have to go through everything because I assume people have seen this movie or know that it doesn't end with like Batman being horrifically killed or something. They could probably guess how it ends, but it's interesting because that detail does come up where Two-Face and Riddler have a discussion that Bruce Wayne is Batman. Kind of, they're sort of like nonplussed by it. I feel like a little bit, right?
Wait, I'm sorry.
This moment in the film where they play back Bruce's thought recordings.
Would you like
in
to
the
see
booth.
what's in Earl Pal Bruce's head?
Yes.
What kind of man have bats on the roof?
Yeah.
All right.
Right.
And then, I mean, I don't know.
I kind of think we should try to, in broad strokes, resolve the plot of the movie.
Yeah.
So we can like talk about other things that stood out to us. So, like, I mean, is that okay with you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just like moving it forward in broad strokes, Bruce does allow Robin to team up with him. How does the trying to quit being Batman come into it?
Because he realizes that Chase Meridian likes Batman, but also likes Bruce. It's
Right.
kind of
that's when she says she's no longer pursuing Batman. He's like, well, then what am I doing this for?
It leads to my least favorite moment. So I said it. My second least favorite is Harvey, I'm Batman at the circus. My number one least favorite moment of any Batman movie ever is the Bat smile. Because she tells him,
wrote that down too.
I like somebody else, which is we now know as Bruce. It's kind of straight out of another comic, Superman.
Oh.
And but then we see the Bat smile. Then he shuts everything down, which is sort of working in conjunction with like Robin.
a girlfriend.
Right. And Robin does rescue him because in the scene that we were just in, it kind of all comes together with Two-Face doing probably my favorite moment of the whole movie with Two-Face in it, which is Why Can't You Just Die? I
do like that part, yeah.
He gets buried in sand and Robin rescues
Two-Face is
him.
like, he's dead this time. I'll run away.
Right. And Robin rescues him. I like this shot. I think it's cool. This is the one scene where Robin is wearing his like modified trapeze artist suit. And
thank God we get one more shot of that clenched little butt
Yes.
in the green tights.
It's cool setup. And so he rescues Batman from like the buried sand. Then we immediately cut to back in the Batcave. They haven't had a conversation in the intervening 45 minutes on the way home, but Val Kilmer going, "What the hell did you think you were doing?" And then what does Robin say, Walker?
Screw you.
So-
I just saved your life. I was hoping this was going to come up.
Okay.
It's such
I'd like you to take
No,
it.
you tell
Okay,
it.
all right.
This is
When we were
essential
kids,
lore from
we
our
were-
childhood.
Yes, we were on like a regular 30-minute drive we would do, let's just say, from our hometown to the bigger neighboring town. And what Walker and I would do is just quote movie lines at each other in the back seat, like nonstop. Acting them out.
Yeah.
And one of us, I don't actually remember which one.
I think it was you.
I think it was me too.
Yeah.
I said, Walker did, what the hell did you do? Well, naturally you would be Batman, of course. And I said,
and I'm sure, and I certainly didn't say what the hell, because that would have been. But I probably said like, "What did you think you were doing out there?"
Yeah. And I said, screw you. I just did the line. And I think it was both our parents were like very alarmed. We didn't get in trouble, but it was like
They got mad.
They got mad, but I didn't know that it was a stand-in for like fuck you. It was just a very, very like poignant, funny memory.
But Zach, I had not thought about that in years. And then when he said it, I was like, Zach got in trouble for saying that. Yeah. And neither of us knew it was bad.
You
and
naughties.
I know. Well, no, we felt shamed. Don't worry.
Oh,
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Well, because I think it was like, do you know what that means? And
Yeah.
it's like,
No.
But I guess I do now.
And within this scene, going back to the movie, what drives me crazy or what is so funny is that he disciplines Robin. Robin like walks off like, I need to be your partner. It becomes a very business relationship. Like as somebody who's like, I've worked at this law firm for a long enough time without being made a senior partner. It's all about partnership.
Yes.
But
And every time Batman says friend, Robin corrects him
Right.
and says partner.
yes. And it's like, okay, what
Oh,
kind of
is that
friends
how
are
you're
you?
going to introduce me to your parents as your friend?
Right? I know.
Your
That's
roommate, Robin.
yeah.
When are you
even
going to
Alfred
deal with who you
acknowledges
are,
us.
Batman?
Thank you.
Okay, but he needs time away from this argument with Little Dick to look at his fucking Revlon commercial that he has recorded of Chase Meridian. Like, and I love
That
the way
part
it's
is
played to you. Is like,
insane.
I need to like, kind of just like
Unwind.
Yes. And it's like, what was she doing? How was this set up? Is this a Revlon commercial? Are we meant to believe that,
Yeah, she's facing the camera,
It's so strange.
throwing her hair back in slow motion.
Mhm.
And Batman just has this footage.
Yes.
He's a creep.
It's very, very... And Alfred kind of comes up and is like, so...
Will I get a turn soon, sir? You've had this video all evening.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to like try and we can go back and talk about, but I just want to wrap up the movie, which is he does accept Robin's partnership.
Yep.
He does come back to being Batman, not because he has to be, but because he chooses to be. Riddler and Two-Face kidnap Robin and Chase Meridian. Riddler sets up a dastardly riddle where Batman has to choose which of them to save, and Batman instead just throws a batarang at his machine, which seems like an oversight on the super genius Riddler's part.
But the way they react, too, it's like everything is stored in there. They both say no. Even Drew Barrymore gets a quick cut of her like going, no!
Right.
Which I thought was really funny.
Yeah.
That she is so upset about Enigma Tech's destruction.
Right, and just that like Riddler
She
is...
has had an opinion on nothing the entire movie.
I know. She's really upset about that, though.
she's a tech nerd.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, just the one calculation he didn't make is like, what if Batman doesn't play my stupid little game?
Right.
Like, but in any case, the whole arc for Robin the whole time is like Bruce telling him killing Two-Face is not going to like subside your pain. It's going to make it worse, right? And I think a very hypocritical position for Bruce Wayne to take. We've seen Batman. We covered this a lot, but Batman in the comics doesn't kill people, but in the Tim Burton movies, he murders multiple people.
He's speaking at it though from the perspective of like, hey, it's not going to fill that void, and it's the same thing as like your parents telling you like, don't go out and have fun, don't party. It's not going to fill any voids. You're not going to. It's like fuck you. Like you're speaking at having done it. I can maybe moderate that, and it's like you've gotten to kill Joker, Penguin. Penguin's henchman.
Yeah.
Like, don't sit here and lecture me on how it's not going to help me.
Your whole life is... It's very... It was... To me, it was very Dre and Marshall in the Guilty Conscience video of just like, Mr. Dre, Mr. NWA, Mr. Straight Outta Compton, you all got to make way. And what does he say? He don't got to go the same route that I do.
Right. Yeah.
But
Been
then,
there, done that.
But then in the end,
Keep going.
Fuck it. Shoot them both.
Where's your gun at?
Where's your gun at? Right? And they come together in the end, which I like, which is similar to what Batman and Robin do.
Yes.
Is come together to murder their adversaries. I did think it was weird, though. So they go into fighting Two-Face with Dick Grayson saying, I can't promise I won't. And Bruce is like, basically says, yeah, well, if you have to, I'll let you. Dick Grayson decides not to. And then
can I just say
Bruce murders him.
I love... yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I
I
really do like the scene when Dick is taking his revenge on Two-Face. When he's fighting him. Even though it looks like a set, I mean, everything in this movie does. But like, on Enigma Tech Island, I just think it's like, it's I'm not saying it's good. I enjoy it though, and I find it to be satisfying. And like, that one's for my brother, blah, blah, blah. I like it. It's fun. And I like that he decides against killing him. And I like Tommy Lee Jones in that scene too. He's like, I'll see you in hell. Just kind of fuck it, whatever. I don't know. That's all. I just like that scene.
The movie ends with Batman and Robin working together, with Bruce and Chase in a highly sexually charged relationship where they kind of dirty talk a little bit in front of Alfred. With
about his dad's diary.
Yeah. She's like, don't work too late. And Alfred's like, oh, shall I put fresh sheets on the bed, sir? And then...
Rubber sheets.
Yeah. Will it be a piss play evening tonight, sir? And then Edward Riddler, the machine is turned on him. He loses his mind completely from the process.
It's a total bummer.
And he is in, the worst joke of the movie. Bummer. And then he is in Arkham Asylum.
Dr. Burton.
Claiming that was Tim Burton?
No, it's not, but I just like the nod of Dr. Burton.
Sure. Yeah. Claiming he knows who Batman is. And with that, I want to turn it over. Nicole, does this man know who Batman is?
No, he does not.
He doesn't?
Well, he believes himself to be Batman.
Yeah.
They give him one final
because he's a wacko.
Yes.
Official diagnosis.
I remember that paying off really hard for me as a kid, that they give him one last big
I love
moment.
that little bit. I'm Batman.
Yeah. And they play big, crazy, dark music.
Yeah. Oh, the Owens Martineau, I think I actually heard a woo.
Oh,
yeah,
maybe. Do you think it was Johnny Greenwood? Before he worked for Paul Thomas Anderson.
So no, he hadn't learned it yet. But
so that's the plot of this movie in broad strokes. I want to turn it over to our guest and then to my co-host here, and just kind of. There are specifics that I'd like to talk. I'd really like to talk about Val Kilmer before we get out of this thing.
Can I just point out a scene that was like very important to me as a child? This is like formative sense of humor.
Yeah.
Like sense of humor formation. So like there's 20 minutes left of the movie. So Batman solves the riddle to figure out it's Edward Nygma who is after him, right? And he does it rapidly. And
he's a riddle-solving fool.
Like, okay, so this became a scene that me and my brother would rewind and laugh at. But like, I'm just picturing, I don't know if this is how it happened, but I'm like picturing like we have this movie on, my mom is doing whatever around the house. And like, there's a part where it's like, Mr. E, mystery, enigma, Mr. Edward Nygma.
There you go.
Yeah, and it happens like that fast, and my mom goes, "What?" Like, what?
That's stupid.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, that's stupid. And like, you know, like it was one of those formative moments where you like realize like how stupid what you're watching is.
Yes.
And me and my brother like crack up. And so every time we watched that movie, we would rewind over and over that line to see how fast he figured it out and just be like cracking up.
yes.
Just cracking up about how, anyway.
What
but
a
it's
great
just
shout
like,
out to Mom.
Yeah.
It's so funny when like you're a kid and the like adult perspective like pierces the veil of just like childlike
and you love
acceptance.
This was like one of those moments where you like love it and you start falling out laughing. And then it just became a part of every watch that we had to watch that scene like 3 times and like laugh at it.
Yeah. An enigma, because Alfred helps a little bit.
Yes,
right? It's the world's greatest detective.
But the way I remembered it
Yes.
before I watched it was it happening like that. Like the way I just...
Yeah, you got it. It's pretty close.
But it is that.
Yeah.
Like, enigma.
Right. And it like, for somebody who calls himself
like,
the Riddler, it's like, this is pretty basic stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing about it is that he has to crack this code to figure out who's after him.
Right.
It's like, how about the person who just like
who's obsessed with
left
you
under suspicious circumstances and just tried to steal your thoughts?
Right.
Like, I don't know. It's just like,
right.
What if he just keeps guessing Two-Face and Alfred's like, no, sir, we've already tried that one and we actually know what he looks like. And
Superman.
But it's just the breakneck pace. Like how they belabor some things over and over again, but this has to happen like
What's
in
his
30
assistant's
seconds
name?
or less.
What was his assistant's name?
Maggie.
He's like, Maggie. No, sir. It's not Maggie. Chase. No, sir. We've been through this.
Yeah. Is it Fred? I saw him steal some office supplies.
He's dead, sir. Yeah. Remember? It was a suicide.
I think that they're clearly trying to work in the detective angle of Batman.
Oh yeah, big time.
You know, which like I think we sometimes forget that is such a huge piece of Batman's whole deal, but it's worked in very ham-fistedly in this movie. In the newest Batman movie, where the bad guy is also the Riddler, and the name is where the similarities end between this Riddler and that one. The detective angle is really engrossing and really moves the story forward. Like Batman having to actually, in that the Riddler is like the Zodiac killer. And Batman has to really spend a great deal of time figuring this stuff out, which is cool to see. Because I think that can be a really fun part of his whole thing, but it's dumb in this.
It is. And yeah, anyway.
What? Do the what one more time?
What?
So good.
Another thing that me and my brother used to key in on that we've alluded to is like how they pause on all the body parts when he's getting into his costume, and we would yell like hand, chest, and then we go butt.
It knows how to look. He does understand like heightening because it closes on the butt.
Yes.
Once they show and they linger on the butt.
In the opening, it closes on the cod piece.
Right.
In the end, it closes on the butt.
Yes.
Logical.
Yeah.
Can I just say,
and again, Val Kilmer, I'm sorry. He's got ass.
But on that, though, it's really satisfying when it does the gauntlet. It's like the camera's steady, the body double or whatever is steady. When the butt does come into frame, it's a little bit like it kind of like
it's like
turns
a half
and like
cheek, 1.5 cheeks.
Yeah, one of the legs is like still adjusting a little bit. It's really like a little bit. It's not super dignified. Is all I want to say.
No.
Even it looks great. I agree. Yeah. But, I just sorry. I thought of one other thing. Going back to when they formed their partnership, it is funny because within this relationship, we can cut this by the way, but Batman is clearly the top. And when they emerge out of the wall in their respective vehicles, I do like that Batman gets to fly and Robin is the bottom.
Yes, there we go.
And I also hate it when he goes, "Who's your tailor?" It's like, who the fuck do you think? Like Alfred.
I took the liberties.
I measured you while you were asleep.
Master Dick is... Anyways, yeah.
Also, tailor... That seems like an inappropriate word to use for a suit made of like molded plastic.
Yeah.
Like it's more like who's your silversmith.
But
like,
this is very... I'll go through the drive-through.
Right.
This is very
Who's
in
your
the
alchemist?
humor of the
Right.
or the weak humor of Batman.
Sure.
Yeah. Just like my jokes with the top and bottom there. Very weak, low-brow, potentially dated, offensive humor. Anyways.
Robin's a power bottom. Everybody knows.
Look,
it.
they might both be versatile.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. Here's something that I feel like we can't, because I think we're getting ready to land this bat plane. Here's something that I don't think we can skip over completely. What do you guys think of Val Kilmer as Batman / Bruce Wayne in this? This is the only time he played Batman. Mm-hmm. He'll be replaced in the next movie. How's it hit for you guys? Zach?
I don't know. I think I like his. I think Val Kilmer's a good actor. I think his Bruce Wayne is okay. I think given the material, it's difficult to judge, but I think he like cuts a dashing figure. He certainly has a better head of hair than Michael Keaton, so I could see why they cast him. So yeah, I think if I could like compare it to sort of modern day choices, I think it'd be like Ben Affleck. Mm-hmm. Who I think Ben Affleck, if the material had been better, could have been great. And I think he is the best part of those movies, which are terrible in my opinion. But I think like Ben Affleck has a really strong Bruce Wayne, and it's difficult to see how good his Batman was, because Batman, it's always a little like, you don't really judge that so much because it's like, how good is the costuming? How good is the voice? Whatever. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I think he did a decent job. And I don't really have any other thoughts about it other than I think that he's good given the level of the material.
Okay. Nicole, how do you feel about Val?
Yeah, I thought he was, passable. I think I'm struggling to answer the question,
mm-hmm.
I guess, because he was kind of a plain flavor in the mix. But I thought he was fine. It's just hard to separate him from the writing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I guess like the writing I didn't appreciate and I don't know like and then like the serious moments felt a little
Mm-hmm.
like an odd digression
Mhm.
from what was going on. So I thought he was fine and good, but I guess like all the other elements are not
Mm-hmm.
great, so it's hard to like separate him from that.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
I guess.
Sure. Once again,
Well, what did you think?
well,
of
I have to come in with like the most negative take, I guess.
Yeah.
I thought Val Kilmer was terrible in
Yeah.
this movie. I thought
It's one of his worst performances. I would agree.
I thought it was both terrible casting and a terrible performance. So I'm not big on the like sacred cow of who should get to play Batman. In particular, I think the Bruce Wayne character is enough of a cipher that it's more about kind of the pathos that you bring to the Batman side of it. Every time somebody's cast as Batman, Batman fans freak out and say they could never. And then I think most people have done a fine job with it. You know, in a world where I think there's really valid criticism of like, why does this character always have to be white? I did realize that the one thing I am protective over in my image of Batman, and this might be weird, is I do not like that this Batman has light hair. Like, I don't like that this Batman's like dirty blonde.
Yeah, no, I agree.
That made me feel weird. Everyone before and after has had kind of the, you know, like the brunette or even like kind of like black Irish look. Like Michael Keaton is like really pale blue eyes and like dark, like black hair. I just like that a lot better. Val Kilmer is completely expressionless through this entire movie. He never emotes in any way whatsoever. I don't know if he's a good actor or not. I do know that he, for me, the best use of him ever is when he is in a comedy reacting to everything completely straight and serious. I.e. MacGruber.
Oh, right, of course.
Where it's like he plays that totally serious, but it's everything happening is super ridiculous. He's also very funny as a young man in these Zucker Brothers movie Top Secret.
Okay.
So I don't know. I don't know if it was the writing, the directing, his attitude, or just miscasting. But I know that George Clooney has gotten a lot of shit about his portrayal of Batman, but I'm kind of expecting it to be better than this. This, for me, is by far the worst person to ever don the Batsuit. I don't believe him for a second in this movie.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it just continues downhill. I think.
Okay, good.
I mean, I think George Clooney's a better actor. I have this. It's not my theory. I've heard this said before, actually, by Mark Bernardin. I think that Val Kilmer is an example of somebody checking all the boxes of leading man. You know, good. You know, he can competently act. I've seen some of the stuff that I enjoy him in. Tombstone, Willow, the Doors movie. Like he's, you know, however good those are, however well they age is like up for debate. But like he can act well in certain movies. Top Gun. But I feel like there's some people that check all the leading man boxes, but are better as a character actor. Like Matthew McConaughey is an example. I actually think Brad Pitt is an example of somebody that is better as a character actor, like standing next to the leading man. And I kind of think that is sort of the problem, is we have somebody who would be a better character actor or assistant to a better leading man cast in the lead role. Doing a poor job, I would agree. Yeah.
Fair enough. Guys.
Wait.
Yeah. I was going to go in for closing.
Sorry.
Please, no. I like that. No, what's on your mind?
I don't want to talk about Val Kilmer as Batman. I want to talk about a couple other things.
Yeah, please.
Please.
Because I don't care about Batman in this movie.
No.
I care about Jim Carrey.
You can,
Let's hear it, please.
You're in it for the riddles.
I want to say what my favorite costume was.
Yes, please.
It's the end where he's wearing the white
Sparkly
like
onesie,
sparkly
yeah.
onesie. I want it so bad.
And he has very great hair in that scene too.
And he has the
Yes.
the eye mask that has the question mark with
Yes.
the little dot on his cheek.
Uh-huh.
I want this costume.
Oh yeah, you look wonderful in that.
Oh, and I read that Jim Carrey had like a say in like costume choices
Oh, wow.
and stuff.
I like that.
But I love this costume so much.
We're gonna have to, and listeners who are following us on Instagram will see the
Which
exact
is why
costume.
I came dressed in it
Yeah.
to record
Yes,
this
I don't know how you did it.
podcast.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know if you wanted us to mention that or not.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's I have to say, you know, Jim Carrey looked great in it, but you cut
Yeah.
a
I
very
look
beautiful
better.
silhouette.
Thank you.
Well, off mic we were competing too, and I said, "No, I wore your favorite,
Yeah,
a green onesie that's skin tight.
yeah.
Back when I was a few pounds lighter."
I also
is
have
it
the
okay for me
question
to
mark
mention that I'm
staff,
dressed-
the gold. You can hear it.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
There you go.
yeah. Does he have that in that costume?
I have it. I
Right.
don't think he has it in that.
I know.
costume.
I mean,
But he did do some crazy twirls.
It's going to be a bit of an edit job for me getting all the constant thumping of every time Nicole made a point, she was slamming her staff on the ground. I know she sounds like very measured, but that's because I cut out the staff sound.
No, his cane work is impressive when he is destroying the Batcave. I forgot to
Yeah.
mention, or maybe I didn't. I don't know. I love him with the cane in that scene. It's really impressive.
Yes.
And
it's
with
really
the scene
great,
you're
all
talking
the
about
spinnings,
too. It's
yes.
great. Yeah.
Yeah.
What other honorable mentions do you have about what you like?
Just a couple quotes.
Yes.
It keeps me safe when I'm jogging at night. That must have been in the trailer because that I really remember that line.
Yes.
And if knowledge is power, then a god am.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great.
Was that a little over the top? I can never tell.
Yeah.
Love that.
Commenting on the performance.
That
of
was
the
great.
movie.
I loved that part too. I didn't catch that as a kid or understand it, but Kai was in the room when we were watching that part, and we both laughed heartily at that.
Yeah.
Yes. So anyway, I just had to, since I don't have a lot to say about what Val Kilmer is up to in this movie, I just had to throw out my last thoughts.
Yeah.
No, I appreciate that. And I'm glad that both of you are not just like exclusively bashing on Val Kilmer, because I feel a little bad. I feel bad speaking this way of somebody who literally cannot speak up in defense of themselves. And so
Oh, boy.
Naughty.
Naughty.
I'm sorry.
Can
Was that over the top? I can never tell.
Could I say my favorite Riddler line, even though I don't know if it's my favorite, but I've clung to it forever?
Yeah.
When he and Two-Face are trick-or-treating, which leads to the...
That's the other thing.
Yes.
Sorry.
I mean, we didn't talk about that part in detail, but it's okay. But
All of a sudden, it's Halloween.
all of a sudden it's Halloween,
Anyway,
and
sorry,
you
go
can
ahead.
just walk up to the Wayne Manor and trick or treat. And anyways, I just love it because they whack stunt double playing Alfred over the head with the cane, and he goes trick. I've always loved that part so much. I don't know why.
I got another one
Yeah,
to throw
please.
out there that's also with Two-Face. There's a scene where in the scene that we talked about, I think more than any other scene, where he goes into Two-Face's lair. And, no, I made your favorite. Just in case listeners are earmarking scenes. Two-Face is not convinced yet that Riddler is an ally, and there's a threat that he might kill him. And Riddler is giving a whole spiel to him, and in the middle of it, Two-Face shoots his gun right next to Jim Carrey's head, and Jim Carrey goes, "Has anybody ever told you you have a serious impulse control problem?"
Yes.
I love that so much.
And I like that.
Yeah.
And I have one of those.
Me too. There you go. I have one more
Yeah.
that I
Please.
just remembered. Okay. It's in the, I think it's like the scene where Batman has to choose and he's like in this corner, in that corner. And
Wow,
he
that was
talks
really
about, it's the costume.
Yeah,
It's really
okay.
selling it.
Yeah. But also, you can tell that this movie is where you got a lot of your movement technique. as
Yeah,
well.
absolutely. I can't wait to see you tiptoe around, exaggerating.
You gotta get a onesie. You gotta get a unitard.
Yeah.
to really do the movements. But he's describing Robin, and he goes, "Who one day hopes to be bare naked with a girl."
Yeah. I was like, does he though? I don't know. Yeah.
He's fine where he is.
Yeah.
In Batman's
Saturday morning
lore.
cartoons. Bare naked with the girl.
Yeah.
How about that shot underneath Chase Meridian's butt, but in like 90s tights? I thought that was really funny. Anyways, that was
the
sorry.
upskirt.
Yes.
And the Chase Meridian.
Can I ask you guys, I don't mean to like directly solicit a compliment here, but since we were talking about how great you look in your outfit, Nicole, do you guys even like the fact that I dressed up like Spice at all? And like, is this bustier working at all?
It's my favorite.
It's great.
And what do you think of the 2 meals? I prepared 4 meals. I prepared 2 meals for each of you.
I like this spit roasted pig.
Yeah, thank you.
It's delicious.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm just trying not to get, foisted onto somebody else the way Sugar did with Riddler. I'd like to choose who my boyfriend is.
Thank you.
Guys, I have absolutely loved discussing this movie with you. What I love even more is that I'm positive this is the last time that I will ever see Batman Forever, which feels great. I imagine I've seen this movie at least a dozen times in my life, and this felt like a good one to close out on. Do either of you have any, final general thoughts about this movie or, closing thoughts? What have we learned, if anything?
Nicole?
I feel like I've said it all.
Sure.
I feel like I laid it all on the table.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good. I'm glad. Because I felt like I was talking a lot, so I'm glad that you felt like you were able to get everything out.
Yeah, no. Did it hold up? No.
Oh, okay.
No, it didn't. But I am happy with the time I have spent with this movie. Hours and hours.
Yeah.
Cumulatively.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm ready to put childish things aside and I guess maybe get to that 4-hour Robert Pattinson Batman someday.
That one is decidedly less jokey in tone, I will tell you that.
Who knows? Maybe I'm done with all Batmans forever.
Ooh.
Whoa.
Oh. She dropped the mic.
Yeah, and that was the greatest riddle of all. What? Zach, what about you?
I mean, that was just such a great mic drop moment. I'd seen it pretty recently, so, I think it's interesting, like, putting it into context with Batman Returns, because I do think that you could see some of the art direction skewing towards Forever. Just a little bit with, like, some of the city decor and all that. But I agree. I mean, it's a moment. It's fun as a study because it is a moment in time for Jim Carrey. I think I agree with you. I think it is more sort of the tail end because you have like Liar Liar and stuff like that after it. But no, it was a really enjoyable performance, and that's pretty much it. Those are that's the main thing I enjoy is Jim Carrey in it, and I'm excited to see if it does improve. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah. As much as I found this movie kind of draining and had a pretty bad headache by the end of it, I cannot think of anything I would like to do more than discuss it with 2 of my favorite people on the planet. Both of you bring so much to the table just about this movie, finding things in it that I didn't see, good and bad. And I love doing Idiobat. It's always so nice to get out of the highbrow intellectual waters of Radiohead and just get down in the green muck of the dumbest movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, the Schumacher of it all.
Oh, thank you very much. And will he return as director for the next one? Will Idiobat return? I think we've kind of tilted our hand that yes, we will be back to discuss the last movie, and we'll be back next week to discuss Radiohead.
Yeah.
Same bat time.
Same bat channel.
Can't close it better than that. Thank you for listening. Thank you to our guest, Nicole, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
We'll see y'all next week. Bye. Idiotalk is a Glenn Brothers production. Get in touch with us at idiotalk.podcast@gmail.com or follow us on Instagram at idiotalk.podcast. Thanks for listening to